I had just graduated and was thinking, what is a teenager supposed to do with her life now? It had become morning, and I could tell by the birds singing. I decided to sleep some more minutes. There was nothing exciting waiting for me outside of my room anyways. All of my friends had gone on their summer vacation. But we can never have vacations. Mom and Dad are always working. I have no one to hang out with. The boy that I liked, he had started dating someone. What a shame. I had created scenarios in my mind, and I believed that we would make a perfect couple. Maybe after he breaks up with her? Who knows? Relationships barely last these days. I know I am being selfish, but this is my only hope. My eyes are wide awake. How can I sleep when I have such thoughts running through my mind? Plus, I could hear that someone was texting on my phone. I looked for my phone for some good minutes and finally found it. My room was so dark from my curtains. I can't sleep when it becomes very sunny. I took my phone and I saw that it had become noon. Mom would kill me if she found out. Luckily she is at work. What day is today? It can't be Sunday. The chat group where all of my friends are had texted and had been awake since the first hours of the mornings. They had sent hundreds of pictures of them either enjoying themselves at the beach or eating and trying new food. They were getting that perfect tan. I was jealous. What am I supposed to do during summer? Plus, I was home alone. Yes, I don't even have a sibling. Mom and Dad weren't able to have another child. Sometimes it makes me think if I am adopted, but then again, there is a video of my mom literally giving birth to me. It is beautiful but terrifying at the same time. What a way of starting my morning. I can't think straight without my cup of coffee. So, I decided to get up. I was still in my pajamas and could barely walk. My body was aching. I had stayed all night watching my 100 TV shows. I was walking while checking my phone and I almost stepped on my kitty. Sometimes I forget that we have a kitty. She is going to turn 5 years soon. She must have been hungry. I woke up so late. So I fed her and gave her some love. Then, it was time to feed me. I opened the fridge, and there was nothing there. Nothing that I liked. But luckily, there was an avocado, and I could still make my toast with it. I had also made my morning coffee. I opened the living room window to get some fresh air. The kitty jumped immediately. She loves to stay outside. I live in Italy countryside, and the views are crazy here. Our neighborhood is very aesthetic. But the only problem is that there isn't so much to do here. All I can do is get out and stay on my porch. That's what I did that day, too, not knowing that my life would change forever. As I was scrolling through my phone, I came across a competition or something like that. An agency travel had posted saying that 2 lucky persons have the chance to win a free trip to Bora Bora. In case you don't know, Bora Bora is an island, and many people go there to spend their vacations. But not just any people, rich people. The deadline for applying to this competition was the day that I was reading it. They must have already chosen the 2 lucky people, I thought. But I got nothing to lose, so I applied anyway and moved on with my boring life. It was a sunny day, so I thought I'd put on my bikini and tan in our yard. Our yard can't be seen by any of our neighbors. Hours must have had gone by, and I must have fallen asleep. I woke from the sound of my mother waking me up, calling my name, Enora, you have been sunburned. I woke up, and I couldn't even touch parts of my body. Perfect. Just what I needed. We began to eat dinner, and my parents were complaining about how I was doing nothing with life. They said that I should start applying for a job and not just hang out at home all day. They don't understand that I want a job, but I haven't found the right one. I couldn't have dinner anymore, so I decided to go to my safe space, my room. There, nowhere judges me. The kitty followed me, so at least I wasn't alone. She was staring at me like she could sense that deep inside, I was sad. And what is the best thing to do when you're feeling sad? Clean. At least that's what I do. I clean my room, so I could somehow clean my thoughts too. I cleaned and folded my clothes, then through the window, I noticed that it had become dark. Another day had gone, just like that. I jumped into my bed. I had already had my pajamas on. I took my laptop and watched whatever I had paused the other night. I waited till I couldn't hear a noise and then went to the living room and took some snacks with me. This is a perfect night for me. This is what I enjoy the most. I had fallen asleep without noticing. Someone was texting me non-stop. It was 7 a.m. or something like this. What could have happened? Were mom and dad calling me so I could wake up early and have my life on the right track? I tried to ignore it, but it was not letting me sleep. So, I took the phone in my hands with my eyes closed, figuring out what was happening. A lot of people had texted me. My heart skipped a beat, thinking that something terrible had happened. But, it turned out to be something completely different. The beginning of something beautiful. There were a few emails from that travel agency, and they had told me that I was one of the people that had won the trip to Bora Bora. I couldn't believe my eyes. As I was reading the long email, a number called me. It was the agency telling me the details. They said I should be ready tonight after midnight because that's when the plane will take off. What will mom and dad think about this? They would let me go, right? But, mom and dad would be home after some hours, and I didn't want to tell them the news over the phone. So, I was just walking around the house, thinking of what I should do. When did I ever get this lucky? I couldn't sleep anymore, even though it was 8 a.m. I wanted to think positively and started getting ready for the trip. It took me a while to get my suitcase ready. It was a 3-day trip. I didn't want to miss anything that I would need. Then, I went outside our door, to the porch, barefoot, waiting for mom and dad. Mom and dad work together, so they always come home simultaneously. Finally, I saw my parents' car pulled over in the neighborhood. They were home finally. I walked towards the door, not caring that I was barefoot. I was exciting, talking like a kid, telling them that I had won a free trip to Bora Bora. But, I didn't get the response that I was hoping for. Like every parent, even mom and dad had a million questions. Who was I gonna go with? How do we know that this was not a lie? How can you win a free trip this easily? Mom and dad said they would not let me go unless they talked to agency travel. How embarrassing. They were acting like I was a kid. But, if that's what it takes, then all right. They talked for hours with the agency, and mom and dad trusted them. So, just like that, my whole summer began to change for the better. Now I had a flight to catch. Mom and dad drove me there and made me promise that I'd be texting them every day. And just like that, I got into the plane, wondering who the other person that had also won the trip was. After some hours, I arrived where I was supposed to be. The agency said that a man would have a letter with my name and take care of the person who had won the trip and me. I got off the plane, and I immediately noticed my name on the letter. The man seemed nice and congratulated me for winning the trip. The man said that we couldn't go without the other person who had won the trip. So, we waited for some minutes. Now, the man was holding the name of a boy, Lucas. It was a very hot day, and all I wanted to do was get into a very cold pool and relax. Then, a tall, French boy of the same age as me approached us. We shared eye contact. He was the other person who had won the trip. The man from the agency called us Shamrock, saying that we were lucky for winning this and that we would have the time of our lives. We got into a car ride for about 20 minutes, till we arrived at our rooms. The boy, Lucas, seemed to be very friendly and was smiling. He had a camera with him and said he had a YouTube channel where he posted all of his adventures. He seemed like an exciting guy. Then, we arrived to Paradise. The beach was so clean, and the views were crazy. There weren't many people, just what I liked. The man followed us to our rooms and gave us just one key. We were confused. Then, the man explained that the people who won the trip were supposed to sleep in the same room. The agency never mentioned this before, and we didn't know what to do. How could I share a room with a stranger in a different country? But the boy, Lucas, made me feel safe and said that we had to grab this opportunity no matter what. He insisted that he would be the one to sleep in the bathroom. And that's how we settled it. But, besides this one problem, everything else was just alright. The room was beautiful and clean, and we got to eat in our bed. Lucas was a hilarious guy, and I could tell that we would have a great time together. He would take me pictures and tell me how to pose for my Instagram. He would always compliment me every time that he would see me. He would compliment my outfits and makeup. There were times when it was awkward. We would be in complete silence. But a girl and a boy can be friends, right? We didn't hang out together as much on the first day, but the other days differed. We used to dress up together and eat dinner, then we would always drink inside of our hotel room. We had fallen asleep together in bed, and we didn't know until we woke up. When we saw each other, we busted into laughter. But sleeping on the same bed didn't seem very odd anymore. We decided to go scuba diving one day since everyone does this when visiting Bora Bora. Life under the sea was beautiful and scary at the same time. We got the chance to see a lot of sea creatures. But then, we realized that it had begun to rain. We had to get out of the water. We went by a big tree and stayed there until the rain stopped. He gave me one of the shirts that he had in his handbag, and then, suddenly, Lucas came close to me and kissed me. I don't know why I didn't push him. I let him kiss me. That's when I realized that I might like Lucas. Lucas said he had wanted to kiss me since the first time he saw me. We went to our hotel room without saying a word. Why did we have to kiss when we both knew we had to fly back home the next day? Lucas lived in France, and I in Italy. There was no way how this could work. We both fell asleep thinking about this. But, unfortunately, the day for us to come back home arrived. But we have made a promise to each other. We promised that we would text and write letters to each other every day. And that's what we did. It had been months since the last time I saw Lucas, but we have always been in touch during those months. I am writing on the plane because I am on my way to France to see Lucas and meet his family. I have never been to France before, and I am very exciting. It's true when they say that love is found in the most unexpected place and times. The man that worked on the agency that called us Shamrock was right. We had become the luckiest people in the world.
I like my name, Mira. It is short yet beautiful. It was my mom's idea. Mom has always been creative. She is an art teacher. But, Dad, on the other hand, it's the opposite of Mom. He had worked all his life as a lawyer. They still try their best to understand each other's world. We all live together in one of the most beautiful cities, Pristina. Pristina has my heart and soul. The city makes me feel less lonely because I have all my friends here. Unfortunately, I don't have a sister, but I have two bigger brothers. My brothers are married, and they all live in their own houses with their wives. But, when we were younger, they made my life miserable. You know how brothers are and how they try to be protective over their sisters. I was never allowed to do anything that I wanted. I had a curfew, and it wasn't ruled by Mom and Dad. It was by my brothers. I was not allowed to wear shorts or anything that my brothers might have found provocative, but now I am almost 18-year-old. I am a grown woman who can do whatever I want. I have just started my last year of high school here in Sami Frasheri. I am almost done. Everyone says that the years of high school are the best years of your life. I can't say that it's true. I had a good time, sure, but it was nothing special. I am not going to miss anything from it, except my two very best friends. I will not let them run away from me. We will do our best to stay friends even after school is over. Just when I thought that I was glad that school was over, my eye caught something. A boy. A boy that goes to my school, but I had never seen him before. We met in a very weird, strange place. It was a very typical school day. I was in my class. My history teacher was telling us about a king from million years ago. Like I was interested. My mind was somewhere else. Should I nap when I get home? What should I eat? I was so bored I could easily fall asleep on my desk. I was looking out of the window, wishing I was outside. It was a beautiful, sunny day. I was looking at my phone every minute, but the clock didn't seem to move at all. I had enough. I just needed to get outside of the class, even if it was for a minute. Can I go to the bathroom, quick? I said. I went outside of the class, walking slowly so the time could go faster. I tried to go to the girls' bathroom, but the door couldn't open. I tried and tried, but nothing. No one was there to help me, it was so quiet. But, since nobody was there, I could go in the boys' bathroom, even though I am pretty sure it is even more disgusting there. But, it'd be quick. That's what I thought. I went there and opened one of the doors. It was a boy, and he was smoking a cigarette. He got scared when he saw me, he thought that I was someone else. How awkward, I told him what happened and why I was there. He said that he was bored too and handed me a cigarette. I don't even smoke, but I took it since I got nothing better to do. His name was Ronnie. I don't know if that's his full name, but that's what he said. He was so tall and had curly black hair. His smile was contagious. Weird how we hadn't seen each other before, after all those years. But, I'm glad that we met that day, I could tell that we had so much in common. That day I went home thinking and hoping that he would text me. But, I didn't know that when I'd arrive home, my life would change forever. Mom and Dad were there, waiting for me. Mom was cooking dinner, we had spaghetti that day. My favorite. Dad was already sitting at the dining table, and he was just giggling looking at me weirdly. I was too tired and hungry. I didn't give him too much attention. We all sat there and were ready to eat. They couldn't stop staring at me, so I asked what was going on. They had some news. They said they know someone whose son is looking to get into a relationship. Mom says that they are a very good family and a wealthy one. They come from Germany. Apparently, this boy had looked at my pics and liked me. But I didn't want a relationship, to get married or anything, I was too young, plus I had a new crush now. I couldn't tell them that I met someone that I might like today. I wanted to see how he at least looked, but Mom didn't have any pics. I kept saying no to Mom and Dad, but they said they had already arranged it, and it would be wrong if I didn't at least go on a date with that guy. Mom said that I should give him a chance. She said that the boy will come for the winter vacation in Kosovo in 2 weeks and will be accepting to see me. I said yes, thinking that Mom would forget all about this in 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks, I would always see Ronnie at school, and we would always share a smile and eye contact. One day, he asked me to eat lunch with him. It was just the two of us. His eyes were telling me stuff that his mouth didn't. I could see it in his eyes that he liked me. All of my friends were saying that he was into me. But, he would never text me, and he still hadn't followed me on my socials. Plus, now we will be some weeks off from school, and I will not be able to see him at all. How will I get in touch with him? I can't be the first one to text. I had almost forgotten about that boy from Germany that Mom had told me until she said that the boy had asked to meet one day. I didn't want to go at all, but since Mom insisted, I decided to go. I was getting ready in my room, thinking about what is Ronnie doing at that moment. I was not used to this, boys not texting to me immediately. He was different. I was deep in my thoughts when Mom's voice took me back in reality and told me that the boy had come to pick me up. I went out of my room, not showing any emotions. She said, "Cheer up." I went outside, and there was a very expensive car. I went in, and the boy was there. He was a little bit chubby and had blonde hair. He had put on so much perfume I could barely stand. He was shy. I was shy too. I didn't even know his name. It was awkward at first, but little by little, we started talking. His name was Trim, and he was 3 years older than me. I noticed that he had a weird accent because he doesn't come as often in Kosovo. We decided to go to a place in the middle of the city called Verendijmer. It was the middle of the winter, and it was so cold. But there, you can order warm drinks. I ordered a warm wine. This way, I didn't feel as cold. We were standing and just talking around, but I couldn't stop but stare at his outfit. He had worn tight white jeans with some white sneakers. Who wears that in the middle of winter? My weather app was telling me that it was going to snow anytime. His fingers were full of rings, and he had a thick gold necklace on his neck. But I don't care about his outfit, I don't want to judge him. I mean, everyone has their own style and preferences. But then I noticed something even stranger. He had plucked his eyebrows. His eyebrows were more beautiful than mine. His skin was glowing. Man, he was even prettier than me. I was jealous. He was a great guy, but he wasn't my type. I want a man that looks like a man. Alright, it's cool if you take care of yourself, but you should know when enough is enough. The date was over, and as long as I went home, he texted me. But I didn't want to talk with him. How do I tell him this? My mom and dad were dying to see how the date went, but I told them that I didn't like him. But Trim's mom had called Mom and told her that we were called for dinner at their house the next day. Our families are just making things even more complicated. I decided to go for dinner, but they didn't know that I was always thinking of someone else, Roni. I had been stalking his profile for days now. But he doesn't post so much. I was happy that school was going to start in 2 days, this way, I'd see him more often. I was never excited about school, but now I had a reason. We went to dinner, and Trimi's mother was always hugging and kissing me, calling me my daughter. Why was she calling me her daughter? I didn't want that. They even bought me a gift. I felt like I had just gotten married, and when we went home, I told Mom and Dad that I didn't want that. I said that I just needed some more time to think. But, in reality, I didn't need time to think. I had made my mind up. I didn't like that boy. I was just waiting to go back to school, see Roni, and see if he would finally make his first move. Winter vacation was finally over, and I was happy to be back in school. I woke up early and got ready. I went to school and was searching for his face in the crowd. I didn't see him all day, then, on my lunch break, I opened my fake Instagram account to see where Roni was. He had posted a story. How exciting! I was full of curiosity, and I clicked on it within seconds. But I wish that I didn't click on it at all. He had posted a selfie, but not just any selfie. He had posted with a girl. I knew that girl. She goes to the same school as us. She was the hottest girl, and I was so jealous. Why did he post with her? Were they dating? Were they friends? I had so many questions, then suddenly I saw Roni walking with that girl. They were holding hands and enjoying each other's company. He didn't even look at me. My heart was racing so fast, and my legs were so weak. I felt like I had lost everything. I was spending my days ignoring Trimi's endless texts and, on the other hand, stalking Roni and seeing if he still was with that girl. I'd check his following every day. He had become my obsession, and I felt like I was going insane. Does it make me a bad person if I pray that my crush breaks up with his girlfriend? Why do we only want the ones that don't want us? Look at Trimi, and how crazy he was about me. But he is not what I want, and it has been days since I didn't even reply to him. My eyes were for Roni only. I'd forget about him too, but I always catch him staring at me at school. But I feel like I am wasting time. High school is over within weeks, and I will probably never see his face again. Will he ever break up with his girlfriend? I don't know. At this point, I have left all of my fate in. Hi guys, my name is Bora, and I have just turned 16-year-old. I wanted to tell my story about what had happened to me some months ago. But, first, you need to know more about me. I was born and raised in Pristina. My name, Bora, means snow in my language because I was born during the coldest winter days. I live with my parents and my 2 little sisters. Everyone says that it is fun to have sisters, but mine are crazy. My parents are the sweetest parents in the whole world, and they did the most so we could have a great life. My parents work all the time, and we are at school. My mom is a nurse, and she often works at night too. My dad is a fireman. They both save a life for a living. We barely get to see each other, but that's why vacation exists. The only vacation that we can have together as a family is during the summer. Every summer has its own story, mine too. This summer, we decided to take a 1-week vacation to the beautiful beaches of Albania. Albania is a very amazing country, and we go there every summer. There is so much to see and do. You have a lot of beaches that you can choose to visit. This time we decided that we were going to Ksamil. We had never been there before, and we were excited. We decided that we would go by car, even though it would be a long road from Pristina to there. But we didn't care, as long as we knew we were going to take some cold swims on Albania's most clear waters. Another reason why we decided to go there was because of a friend that I have. It had been a year since I had been texting with my internet friend. Her name is Anna. Anna is from Albania, and we had actually met last summer. We clicked immediately, and we have been texting since that day. We would FaceTime non-stop. My whole family knows about her, and everybody knows how much we love each other. She is the same age as me. When I told her that I would be coming to her country this summer too, she was so excited and said I should meet her. So my plan was to stay 4 days with my family, and then the last day I would go to Anna. My parents agreed. We all got ready for the long road journey ahead of us. I was sitting in the back seat of our car with my 2 little sisters. As always, they were so annoying, so I put on my headphones and listened to my favorite albums the whole road. There were times when I would fall asleep. I love falling asleep while on a road trip. It is so relaxing. After some long hours, we arrived at our destination. The sun was so bright, and it was a very hot day. My father was so tired from driving all day, but we girls were ready to spend some hours by the pool. I put on my favorite bikini. The weather was perfect, and there were many people there. We had so much fun on those first days of our vacation. We all needed that. But then it was time for me to go with my friend. My friend was in a different city in Albania, only some hours away. We planned that she would come and get me, but she couldn't come. I didn't want to bother my dad and mom and take hours from their vacation, so I decided to take the bus. Plus, we all talked the same language, so it wouldn't be hard for me to communicate. I got ready. I got my sunglasses, and I wore a sundress. I got only 1 bag with me, and some food for the road. I was so excited because Anna said she would show me some secret beaches that Albania has, and no one knows. Some hidden gems. I went to the bus station on foot, and I already got so tired because it was so hot outside. I arrived there and saw a lot of buses. At first, I didn't know which one to get in. But then I heard some man yelling the city's name that I would be going and pointing to a bus. So I went there. I got on the bus and told Anna immediately, so then she could wait for me when I got off the bus. There was even hotter there. It was an old bus, and it smelled terrible. There was only one old couple there, and they were eating something. Something that smelled so bad, I almost puked. Anna told me that it would take me 2 hours to arrive at her city. I knew that it would be a very long, challenging road trip. The road was bumpy, and I would put my face outside the window to feel some fresh air. But the views were crazy. The mountains were huge, and the sky was so blue. I could see the ocean from the bus, and I couldn't wait to get in the water. After a 40-minute drive, the bus stopped, and the old couple got off the bus. Then after 20 minutes, the man that was driving the bus told me that I had arrived at my destination. But Anna had said that it would take me 2 hours, and it had only been 1 hour. I tried to tell the man that I thought I was in the wrong place, but he said no. He was so rude and said that he needed to go somewhere else and that I needed to get out of the bus. I didn't have much time to think, and I went out of the bus. There was no one around me, just some mountains. I took my phone, and I tried to call Anna and tell her that I was there. But my phone wasn't working. I didn't have a connection. I didn't want to panic. I decided to wait there for some time and see if another bus would come. I waited till I couldn't wait any longer. It was so hot, and I couldn't even find a shadow. Then, I started walking, hoping to find a restaurant to even call someone. As I was walking, I came across a little village. It looked like a tiny neighborhood. It had only like 3 houses. But it looked so beautiful. I decided to go there and see if someone would help me. The houses were made of mud, and they were so old. They must have been built years ago. It was so silent, and at first, I thought that nobody lived there. But then I saw that there was a little farm. There were chickens, pigs, and then suddenly, I saw a big white horse. Near the animals, there was a well. There was a bucket in which you could take the water. I took some because I got so thirsty. It made me feel like old times. The water was cold, and it got me feeling much better. Still, I couldn't hear any track of humans. I was walking around the houses, trying to see if there was someone there from the windows. I decided to knock on one of the house's doors, but no one replied. Then, I went to another one near there. I heard someone walking slowly. Then, the door got opened. There was a very, very old woman. She seemed kind because she opened the door and her face was smiling. I asked her where I was. She said that I was in a whole different place rather than where I wanted. She said that I must have taken the wrong bus. I could barely understand what she was saying because she had no teeth. I felt so bad. I asked her about the nearest bus station, and she said that the buses don't come to this area because the roads are bad and bumpy. She said that they one walk by the horse. I was surprised that people still use horses as vehicles. She said that her husband rides the horse. But he wasn't home. She insisted on me going to her house and waiting for her husband so that he could give me a ride. I had no other choice. They obviously didn't have phones, and there wasn't any connection. I couldn't call my family and tell them what had happened. So, I went in. The house was so tiny but so cute at the same time. The furniture was so old, and the television was barely working. We decided to stay outside on the balcony. The air was so fresh, and the view was beautiful. She made me some fresh orange juice from her garden and gave me some fresh fruits. She told me that everyone had left this village and that she and her husband were the only ones living there. I asked her about her kids, but she said that everyone had left and gone to the city. I felt bad. They must have been feeling so lonely. But, no. She was happy and full of life. The clock was ticking, and her husband wasn't coming back. She said he works all day and takes care of the corn. She said that he would be late and needed to stay and wait. So that's what I did. I was so hungry. Luckily, the old woman started making the dinner. I decided to help her. She wanted to make a traditional Albanian pie. So, I went to her garden and picked up some fresh onions. She was so old, but she was so strong. As the pie was baking, we had the chance to get to know each other better. It was getting darker, and we ate dinner. Her husband still wasn't home. There weren't any lights in the room, only some candles. I was looking through the windows, but I couldn't see anything. It was so dark. Suddenly, we heard the noise of a horse near the house. It was her husband, and he had come back. He was happy to have someone over. He was very kind. He seemed very tired, but he didn't miss the chance to kiss his wife. They looked like they were so in love with each other. But there was some bad news. He said that he couldn't ride the horse at night because it was dangerous. He said that we had to wait till the sun rises. But that would have meant that it would be a whole day without my family contact me. I had no other choice but spent the night there. I felt safe there because the old couple seemed like the nicest people. They made me a place to sleep in their living room. They slept so early. So, I was all night up and scared. It was so dark. There was only one candle. I missed my family, and my phone battery had died. The old couple had woken up very early. They called me and said they were ready to give me a ride. I had slept on my sundress, and I hadn't brushed my teeth or hair. I didn't care, and I went out that way. I felt so sorry that I had to leave that old woman alone. She needed someone. She hugged me so tight and kissed my forehead. She said that she would like to see me again, anytime soon. I got in the horse, and that was the first time that I did that. At first I was scared, but then I loved it. It was a fun experience. He took me to my friend's place, and everyone was staring at us. I thanked him, and I hugged him. I met up with my friend, and I charged my phone without wasting time. I told my family that I was okay. They were so worried. Now, I was ready to continue with my vacations with Anna. I just wanted to tell my story because this experience had taught me a lot. It took me back to a time when life was simpler. It made me think about life differently and how simple it is, but we make it so complicated. I admired how grateful that old woman was about life. Even though they had no phones, no cars, they were happy. They were healthy, and that's what mattered. Hi guys, my name is Riri, and I have just turned 16-year-old. I just wanted to share some pieces of my life with you, how I found love at a very young age. I want to have my story written, so my future kids will know every detail of it. I was born and raised in Pristina, together with my big family. I live with my mom and dad, 2 sisters, and my little brother. My little brother's birthday was some months ago, and we decided to buy him a Labrador puppy, and we decided to name it Rico. I didn't know how much of a responsibility it was to raise a dog until now. But we love it. We are enjoying it every minute. This year hasn't been the greatest for us, because our grandparents have passed away from the COVID. Our home feels empty without them. But, no matter what, we should move on with our lives. And that's what we did. Days in my life are very chaotic. My parents are always working, so they aren't home all the time. My mother is a nurse, and sometimes she works during the night. My father is a waiter at a restaurant near our house. I am the second child. My bigger sister is married and has kids, but she often visits us. That means that my little sister and brother are kind of my responsibility. I love them, but sometimes they get on my nerves. They are crazy and annoying. I like having my life in control. I want my 8 hours of sleep and my healthy breakfast. I want to read my favorite book and watch my favorite series. I enjoy taking my usual evening walks with our dog. But recently I haven't had the chance to do the things that I love. It's impossible. When my grandma and grandpa were alive, it was easier for me. Because they were home all the time, and they would take care of us. I became in charge too soon. Even though I hate school and I hate waking up early, it is still my escape. My escape from everything, from my home. It's where I can be a typical 16-year-old for some hours. Because, at home, I usually cook or take care of my siblings. High school is easy for me. It is not what I accepted. I used to see all of those movies saying that it is a nightmare. But, no. It is the opposite. I have made some very great friends that I know are gonna last forever. I am a very outgoing person, so it has never been a problem for me to make friends. I have been in a very short relationship, only once. He was my first kiss, but I regret it all my life. It was so meaningless. From that moment, I promised myself that I would never get in a relationship unless I knew that it would last. Wanna know another good escape besides school? Months ago, just some blocks away from my house, a coffee shop had opened. It is the cutest coffee shop that I have ever seen. It gives me good vibes. At first, I only went there to wait while my siblings would come back from school. But, now, it had become my sweet little escape. I go there every day after school, on the same spot. I like to sit by the window and enjoy the view, especially when it is raining. I stay there for hours. Sometimes I lose track of time. But, it has become my second home. I would go there with friends, but most of the time, I am alone. I used to hate going places alone. It felt so weird. Once I read a quote saying that if you are brave enough to eat alone at a restaurant, you can do anything in life. And, that's the truth. Now I am used to it, and I love my own company. It is peaceful. But, here in Pristina, people are not used to seeing people who are alone at a coffee shop. I often catch people looking at me strangely. One day, I was staying there, minding my own business. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, I noticed a note on the desk where I was staying. At first, I thought that that was the bill, but no. I opened it, and someone had written saying, "Hi." Hi. What does that mean? Was that for me? I looked around the bar, and nobody was there, just the workers that worked in the shop. I asked for the bill and asked the waiter if he had seen anything. He said no, but he said that we could look at the cameras. I didn't want that. It wasn't a big deal, just a little bit curious. I went home, but I tried not to think about this. The next day had come, and I had just finished school for the day. I didn't know if I wanted to go to my favorite coffee shop because I didn't know who could it be. But it could be someone just joking around, so why wouldn't I go? I went there, and that day, there were many people, and I barely found a seat. I ordered the usual, an iced frappe coffee. I read some chapters of the book that I was reading and went home. This time nobody had left me a note, and nobody had talked to me. So, for a while I had forgotten all about that note. Some days had gone by, and no note. Until one day, someone had put a sticker on my laptop, saying, "Tell me your name, and put this note under the table so I can know." I didn't know if I should like this or be afraid of this. I started to not feel safe there anymore. It felt like I was being watched all the time. I went out of the shop, and I was looking left and right all the time, seeing if someone was following me. But no one was following me, luckily. I decided to not go there anymore, so maybe that person would have given up. I didn't go there for weeks. Then, I went there with one of my friends, but she couldn't stay very long. I decided to stay there and just see if someone would come. I didn't even go to the bathroom. I stayed there, and nothing happened. I asked for the bill, and guess what? On the bill, there was a note saying, "I was worried about you, where were you?" I was shocked and asked for the waiter who had written this. The waiter said that he couldn't tell me. But he said that a guy that always came here wanted to write to me. He said that he got paid to not tell names. I decided to finish this and write him back. I put a note under the desk where I was staying, saying, "Who are you?" I was curious more than ever. The next day I went to the coffee shop, and the only free spot left was where I usually sit. What a coincidence. I sat there, and the first thing that I did was put my hands under the table and see if I had a note. There was a note saying, "I can't tell you my name yet, but I want to know more about you." I replied, "What do you want to know about me, and why?" I put the note under the desk and continued with my day. Now I had another reason to go to the coffee shop. I don't know why, but I found this so interesting and exciting. My life felt like I was in a movie. The next day, that person had left another note saying that the reason why they wanted to get to know me was that I had looked mysterious. I had no idea who could it be. A girl? Alright, I can never have too many friends. A boy? An old man? I was dying from curiosity because that person had seen me before, but I had no idea how they looked. I decided to write and ask about whether it was a boy or a girl. He was a boy, but 2 years older than me. He said that his name was Ron. Days were going by, and we were passing notes every day. He seemed like a lovely person. I learned a lot about him. He was a lot like me. He said that that coffee shop was his favorite place too. It wasn't just little notes anymore. We would write 2 front and back pages about our life. But I couldn't tell why he didn't want to meet. I couldn't be the first one to say that, so I waited. I was living for what will tomorrow bring. But, one day, as I was in class, my teacher called me out because my mother had come to take me. I didn't know anything about this. I went out, and I saw my whole family outside. I knew that something bad had happened because my mother had a strange look on her face. My aunt had died, and we all needed to go there. We were so sad because she had a very beautiful soul. My aunt lived so far from my city. She lived in a village. My mother said that we had to go and stay there for 3 days. And that's what we did. But that meant that I would not hear from Roni. I didn't have time to go to the coffee shop and explain to him where I would be the next few days. We had to be there immediately. We arrived at my aunt's, and I couldn't stop thinking about him, which made me realize that I liked someone that I had never seen before. I couldn't stop thinking how worried he was. Those 3 days had gone very slowly, and I was finally back at my old life. The first thing that I did was go to the coffee shop. Roni had left me a lot of letters. He thought that I decided to not do this anymore, and he had written a lot saying how much he missed me. I wrote him back and told him exactly what happened to me and that I was hoping to hear from him again. The next day I saw that he had written to me immediately. Months went by, and we were having so much fun communicating this way. It was so romantic. I decided to tell my friends about what was happening to me. But I didn't get the reaction that I was hoping for. They said how dumb I am and that I shouldn't have believed a word that that guy had spoken. They said that it could be someone that was playing and messing with me. They found it weird how he didn't ask me to meet up with him. It was weird, but I didn't want to admit it. The words of my friends had gotten into my mind, and I decided to write and ask him to meet. I didn't want to sound desperate, but I was curious. I went into the coffee shop, and I was scared to see what he had said. Maybe he didn't want to meet with me at all. I got in and sat in my usual place, and there was a note there. I opened it, and guess what? A note said, "Look upon your left." I looked up, and a blonde guy was smiling and waving at me awkwardly. Then, he started walking towards my table. I was so nervous, because that happened all of a sudden. I wasn't ready, and my body was shaking. I didn't even have my best outfit on. He came near me, hugged me tightly, and ordered my usual. He was smiling all the time. At first, we felt kind of shy, but then everything changed. We got the chance to talk about everything, and he said that the only reason why he didn't ask to meet was that he likes taking things slow. He lived not so far from my home, but I had never seen him before. We stayed and talked there for hours, and the only thing that stopped us was the waiter telling us that the coffee shop had to get closed. He walked me home that night and gave me his number. It was our time to leave the notes behind. Now it had been a year since we are together. I love how we met, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. Even though we are young, we have already talked about our future. The coffee shop where we met was named Embel, which means sweet in Albanian. We talked and decided that if he had a daughter in the future, we would name her that way.
Hi there, my name is Melissa, and I am only 17-year-old. Before I begin with my story, I want to give you a glimpse of my life. I come from the beautiful city of Gjilin. I was born and raised here. Our house is upon a hill, and you can see the whole city from it. The views are crazy, and the sunsets are breathtaking. The sunrises are beautiful too, but I am not an early bird. I love to sleep a lot, especially in the mornings. I barely go in time for school. So yeah, I don't get to see a lot of sunrises. I live with my dad, mom, and my little brother. But, we recently welcomed a new family member. It's my favorite member, actually, our little puppy. It was my birthday gift from Dad. I've always wanted a dog. I like to believe that our dog is happy here. When I am at home, I feel like a baby, my mom and dad kissing my forehead everywhere I go. Asking me what I want to eat, telling me to go to sleep. They still treat me like I am a child. My parents don't get it that I am a grown-up. When I go to my school, it is a whole different story. I am a teenager. I act how a 17-year-old should act. I am not the sweet daddy's little girl. I have just started my second year of high school, and my parents have no idea what goes on there. They don't know that there is not a single soul there that hasn't dated someone at least once, including their daughter. Me. Just like everyone else, I've liked someone too. But, this was years ago and I was very young. I gave my first kiss, not knowing what a kiss was. Since then, I haven't dated anyone. It's not that I am not wanted, but no one has caught my eye. Well, that's what I thought until one day. One morning, I heard my alarm ringing, and I looked at the clock. I decided to give myself some extra minutes and enjoy the sleep on my warm bed. I had stayed all night the other night, well, how couldn't I? The new episodes of my favorite show had been aired. Suddenly, I felt someone touching my shoulder and calling my name gently, and it was Dad. "Aren't you going to school?" he said. Well, yeah, Dad, I am, obviously. It was Monday, and I had to go to school. Why are Mondays always so hard? I hate it. I got up and tried to get ready, but I was already late. This wasn't the first time that I missed my early classes. My parents understand me when I can't wake up early, they don't say anything to me. But this will for sure affect my grades. I wore anything that I could find. Clothes that were lying on the ground of my room from the days before. Thinking about how I have to clean my room after school today. My mom will kill me if she sees how messed up my room was, but she is most of the time at work. Crossing my fingers that she would not go into my room today. At least I opened the window, so some fresh air would go in. Because I had eaten in my room the night before, it smelled terrible. I got out, and my parents had already left for work. I had to walk to school. It was windy and cold. Just what I needed. It was already a bad day, and I wouldn't be surprised if a group of stray dogs would follow me and try to eat me. This is a very serious problem in our city, there are a lot of stray dogs. I love dogs, but sometimes they can be dangerous. I arrived at my school and noticed that the door was closed. There were a lot of people there. I tried to open the door, and someone said, "They are not letting us in because we are late." I turned my back to see who was talking. And oh my God, he was the most handsome boy I've ever seen in my life. I didn't know who he was. He might be in his last year of high school. We stayed there, waiting, and he would look at me non-stop. But this wasn't my best day. I wasn't looking the best. It was so cold, and I could feel my nose had turned red. Have I even brushed my hair? I am the most unlucky person alive. I was surprised at how he was looking at me. I was a mess. But then, he started walking towards me. He looked like he wanted to say something to me. But the bell had rung at that moment, and the door was opened. I was curious about what he was going to say to me, but the curiosity didn't last very long. When I came home, I had a new follow request. It was him. How did he find me? Why did he follow me? I wanted to know, so I requested him back. He accepted it within seconds. I am not even kidding, I spent a whole good hour stalking at his profile, and he apparently posts a lot. I learned a lot about him. He goes to the gym every morning before school. You should have seen his pictures, his body. He had posted with his family, and he had a dog. But I couldn't help but notice all the girls commenting on his pictures. Then, I stalked at those girls' profiles too. They were from different cities, and they were so hot and beautiful, it made me jealous. I was jealous because I looked nothing like them. So, I deleted all of my posts. I was embarrassed. In that minute, the boy texted me. I felt sick from all of the butterflies flying in my stomach. I decided to go into my room and text in peace. I decided to not open his messages right away, I didn't want to look like I was interested. But I couldn't resist any longer. He had said, "Why did you delete your posts?" I was going to look at them. In my mind, I was saying, "It's fine, you can look at the photos of the hundreds of other girls that you follow." But I played cool, and that night we stayed until the morning texting non-stop. He was exactly my type, funny, sweet, and sarcastic. But he had made my life complicated. Now I couldn't wake up late for school and go looking like a complete mess. I needed to look good. I started not staying up late at night, this way, I became an early bird. My mom and dad were curious about how I changed. But, I need to, because I see him every day at school. We saw each other, but we hadn't had the chance to talk to each other yet. I was stupid to think that a guy like him would be interested in me. Every girl drools after him. But, one day, as we were texting, he said that he wanted to go out on a date with me. I couldn't believe my eyes. But I didn't care, I said yes immediately. We have been texting for months now. It was time for us to meet. But, what was I going to wear? Will he like me? 100 questions were running through my mind. He was a year older than me, so he had a driver's license. He said that he would come by my house and pick me up. I was so stressed knowing that my mom and dad would see me. I spent hours trying to find the perfect outfit. My room once again had become a big mess. That moment Mom came in to call me to eat dinner and saw the mess. She said I couldn't go out unless I cleaned all of that. I was sweating, and I didn't have much time left. I didn't even fold my clothes, I just left them on my bed. I ran out of my house because he was already waiting outside. He was waiting for some streets away from my home, and the walk to his car was so awkward. I could see him looking at me while I was walking. I got in his car, and his perfume was everywhere, and it smelled so good. I have a weird obsession with men's perfume, and I always use my dad's. Anyways, he hugged me, and we decided to just have a ride around the city and listen to some music. I couldn't stop looking at his hands while he was driving. He was wearing a ring on his index finger. I could tell what we were vibing, and we were enjoying each other's company. He was laughing at everything I was saying. We bought some food, and we ate it in the car. We didn't realize that it had been hours since I had been out until my dad called me asking where I was. This was the end of our date. The only way to find out if the person you went on a date with likes you is if he texts you immediately that night. And that's what he did. He texted me, and the texting continued for days. I know that we weren't dating yet, but we were texting, telling him personal things I never discussed with anyone else. And there was something that I didn't like. He would always follow girls on his Instagram and like their posts, and there were times he would even comment. I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't doing what he was doing. I wasn't accepting it, but he called me on another date. But he called me on a very, very bad day. My period had just come, and my stomach was hurting so bad. My face was full of pimples. There was a big, disgusting pimple right around my lips. I didn't want him to see me that way, so I said I couldn't go out. I didn't tell him why not, obviously. But I tried to hide in school too, just so he didn't see me. I couldn't go out with him until this pimple would be gone. Seeing what kind of girls he follows, my confidence was so low. My period pimples only last some weeks, so that's alright. Just when I thought that nothing could go any wrong, I accidentally fell asleep while chewing gum one night. I didn't notice it until I woke up for school and tried to brush my hair. I tried to brush my hair, but I couldn't. Then, I saw it. The gum was on my hair. I screamed so bad, Mom came to check if I was alright. I wasn't alright. Mom said I should chop my hair. I couldn't go to school that day, and I had to go to a hairstyle and take care of it. The hairdresser laughed when she saw me, but she said some bad news. She said that the only solution for my hair was to get bangs. Bangs? But that was so 2000s, and nobody has bangs anymore. I was going crazy, but I had no other choice. I cut it, and I was looking so ugly. I cried till we arrived home, and I didn't have time to check on my phone, and I was in a crisis. But, a number called me. It was the boy that I was texting with. He said that he wanted to see me tonight since I missed school. He said that he missed me. But I couldn't go out like this. I was looking crazy. My plan was to not see him for some months, so my hair would grow a little. Weeks went by, and he called me once again. I wanted to see him because I missed him so much. But, Dad said that we will give him some money and buy some clothes when he gets paid. I needed new clothes, so I thought it would be better if I waited for more weeks. I wanted to look good. But, I noticed that he wasn't texting me as he usually did. He was cold. However, I decided to put my guard down for once in my lifetime and be the one to ask him on a date. Guess what? You will never guess this, so I will tell you myself. He said that he couldn't go out because he had got a new girlfriend. Maybe that's what I get for caring too much about how I looked.
Guys, my name is Dawn, and yesterday I turned 16-year-old. You know what they say about sweet 16, it should be sweet but crazy at the same time. But my birthday was crazier than sweet. It was an epic night, and I am going to tell you all about it. I was born and raised in Pristina, Kosovo. I am the only guy in our house. I live with my mother and my sisters. My dad had passed away from cancer when I was just a baby. I didn't get to stay much with him. But my mom says that he was exactly like me, rebellious, free and funny. I often wonder how my life would be if my dad would still be alive. But, my mom had become my dad too. She is the strongest woman that I've ever met. My mom is my hero. My two big sisters are married and have kids. Now it's just mom and me. Sometimes, she is home alone, and I feel bad, but I always say to her that she should move on with her life and find someone else. I know she loves Dad, and they had a beautiful marriage and life together. But, I know that Dad would want Mom to be happy and not lonely. Everyone deserves to have someone they cuddle with during the cold nights. My mom often jokes around and says to me when I will bring the bride home. She was so young when she got married to Dad. It was different back then. She doesn't get the fact that people don't want serious relationships nowadays. They would rather cheat than get married. She doesn't know that I text and go out with many different girls. I know that she wouldn't like this fact. She wouldn't like the fact that I smoke too. But I chose not to tell her, even though there were times that she found cigarettes on my clothes while she was doing laundry. But she never asks because she knows that the truth is ugly. I try to be a good boy just so she will not get worried. But I am a good boy. I don't mind going to school, and I don't mind waking up early in the morning. I don't even study, but I do well in school. Most of the time of my life I spend with my 3 best friends. We all go to the same school and live in the same neighborhood. We have been friends forever. My favorite part of my house is my basement. It's where my friends and I stay. We call it Dawn's basement. A day doesn't go without us hanging there. We play video games, we talk about girls. We drink some beers here and there. It is always a good time. But, my birthday was almost here, and this time we wanted to make something different. We didn't know what to do. We were a bunch of 15-year-old kids with no driver's license who couldn't buy even a pack of beers. We decided to call the brother of one of our friends. He was a 22-year-old. He had a car driver's license, and we would go anywhere we wanted with him. He agreed to drive us around, only if we paid his gas. We agreed. Why not? He said that a new club had just opened and that we needed to go there. He said that he could make us some fake IDs. We didn't care much about details. We just wanted to get drunk and have some fun. My mother was working that day, and I told her that we would be in our basement. So, the night had begun. We got ready and went to the club. The fake IDs worked perfect, and the security wasn't even suspicious about anything. The club was perfect, and there were a lot of people. I know that I started drinking and drinking. It was a good vibe. But my eyes were blurry, and I couldn't feel my legs anymore. The alcohol was getting into my head. Then we got in the car. And, from this moment, I don't remember anything else. Apparently, I fell asleep. But I couldn't sleep for long, my body was aching, and there were a lot of noises around. I tried to call my mom and ask her what was going on with these noises, but I couldn't even talk. Then, I decided to wake up. My head felt like it was going to explode. I woke up, and the strangest thing happened. I wasn't home. I wasn't at my friend's house. I wasn't in a car. I was at a parking lot near a restaurant, and I had slept there all night. I was shocked, and I didn't know what was going on. There were people around me, and they were looking at me. I woke up acting like everything was fine. At first, I thought that this might have been a joke, a prank, but I kept looking around, and I couldn't see my friends. It was just me. And, the strangest part of this whole experience was that I didn't even know in what city I was. It took me some minutes trying to figure out what had happened yesterday. But I couldn't think of anything. I searched in my pockets, and I couldn't find my phone, my wallet, or my fake ID. I was hoping that this would be a dream, but it wasn't. It was a very hot day, and my mouth was dry from drinking last night. I decided to wait on that same spot that I was when I woke up. Maybe my friends could be looking for me somewhere. I found a shadow, and I waited. I waited for an hour, but I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to go home. But I needed to call someone to get me. Nowadays everyone has a phone in their pocket, so I thought to ask someone to borrow their phone just for a call. There was an old woman there, and I asked her. She seemed scared of me. She said to me, "Go away," as she was holding her purse like I was going to steal it. She was so rude. Since I was near a restaurant, I decided to get there and maybe they could help me. There were a lot of people there eating and enjoying their time. The restaurant smelled so good, and I was getting hungry. But, as I was walking, everyone was looking at me strangely. As I was about to ask the waiter there, I came across my own reflection in the mirror. You should have seen me. I was scared of myself. I was looking like a crazy person. My hair was all messed up. My face and clothes were covered in dirt. My pants were ripped. Now I know why that woman was looking at me that way. I was looking homeless. I ran as fast as I could from the restaurant. That's when I started getting more scared because I felt like nobody was going to help me. I was walking and just thinking that was going to happen next. There were a lot of bakeries with the name of the city that I was. I was in Prizren. I didn't know how I got there. I came across a fountain. Nobody was around me, so I decided to wash my face and hair to look normal. After that, I was looking a little bit decent. Now I just needed to call someone and find the way to the bus station. As I was walking, I came across a group of boys of the same age as me. I asked if I could borrow their phone, and I explained to them what had happened to me. They started laughing, and they looked like some cool kids. They asked me if I ate, and I told them no. They said that we should go somewhere to eat, and that's what we did. The first person that I called was my mother. She must have been so worried for me. I called and told her that I was all right, but I didn't tell her where I was. She kept saying that she had been calling on my phone, but it wasn't working. She said that she had been planning something for my birthday and that I needed to be home at a certain time. But, I was so far from my home, and I didn't know if I could make it. Then I called my friends, and they were looking for me too, but they said that they couldn't come to get me. I ate the food that my new friends had just paid for. But now I felt sorry for asking them for money for the bus ticket. I would sound so selfish. So, I didn't. But they told me the road to the bus station. I arrived there, and I had to wait for some minutes until the bus driver started driving. I had some minutes to think about what I will do, but I couldn't think of anything. I got on the bus hoping that they would not ask for the ticket's money. There were a lot of people on the bus, and I could barely find a seat. This way, I thought that they would not notice me. But they did. They said that they felt sorry, but they couldn't accept me without a ticket. They had to get me out of the bus in the middle of the road. I got so embarrassed when they kicked me out. But I had to get home, and I only had some hours left. I decided to get out on the road and see if I was lucky enough for someone to give me a drive. I waited some minutes, and the day was almost over. It was getting darker, and I was so tired. I just needed to take a long nap in my warm bed. Then, when I was about to lose hope, a car pulled next to me, honking and saying to get in. I got in without even looking who the driver was. It could be a psychopath, a serial killer. But I didn't care at all. Luckily, I got in and saw a group of girls. There were 3 girls, and they were from Pristina. They were from the same city as me, but I had no idea who they were. They were on a road trip to Prizren. It felt so good just sitting in the car and looking from the window, knowing that I am going home. The road to home was long, but I slept half the way. I only had an hour left before I would arrive home, so my mom wouldn't notice where I was. Then, I had arrived at my city, finally. The girls couldn't drive me exactly to my neighborhood, but I ran so fast. I came in the house, and the lights were off, and I heard someone shouting, "Surprise!" The whole family had come to wish me a happy birthday, just like what I needed. They were surprised when they saw me. I looked like I was chased by some dogs. But, I couldn't tell what had happened to me because my mother would kill me. I blew the candles of my birthday cake. I stayed there for some good minutes and immediately went to sleep. My mom didn't suspect anything, and I was glad. The next day, I slept till afternoon. It was the best sleep that I've ever had. I decided to meet up with my friends and talk about what had happened the night before. They said that I had found some friends in the club from Prizren and that I insisted on going with them. They thought that I wasn't that drunk. I still don't know who they were and what we did. Then, suddenly, I got a message from someone. Someone had sent me some pictures, saying, "We had so much fun." It was me, and I was with the guys from Prizren. We had made a lot of pictures together. I still haven't met with them and found out exactly what happened. But, I just wanted to tell my story and tell everyone that you should drink a very reasonable amount. It is important to have fun, but
My name is Mona, and I am only 15-year-old. I was born and raised in the capital of Greece, Athens. I have lived only with my 2 beautiful parents all of my life. I am an only child, and I love it. I feel special and spoiled all the time. The city where I live, Athens, really inspires me. Even though I am only 15-year-old, I am a very romantic person. I romanticize everything. So, it is effortless living in my city, Athens. My city is very interestingly beautiful and romantic. It is blessed with a rich cultural and historical past. But, I am not here to talk about my city. Unlike other kids, I love going to school. I enjoy reading books in my free time. My favorite subject at my school is creative writing, and our teacher gave us an exciting thing to do at home. He said that we should write the most beautiful love story that had happened to us. The problem is that I don't have a love story. I've had my first kiss and some little dates, but that doesn't count as a love story. It's hard to have a genuine relationship at 15-year-old. I don't think my teacher doesn't understand today's relationships. I spend hours and hours thinking about what to write. I want a good grade, so should I lie? But, I can't lie, all of my friends would know. Then it hit me, since I don't have a love story yet, I might just write about the most beautiful love story that I've ever heard. Which was my parents' story. My parents are my inspiration. They have been married for 15 years. How did they meet? What's the secret of a long, healthy marriage? Let's find out. The story takes place years ago in Athens, when life was nothing like today. Life was easier and simpler. People really loved each other. There was no social media, no apps where you could swipe into someone's profile and go on a date with them. No, back in the old days, you had to fight to find a partner. At least that's what my parents have told me. There was a girl who only at 19-year-old had become a cop. And there was a boy who worked at a jewelry store that his father had owned. These two had lived a completely different life. The girl had come from a rigorous family, and the only reason she became a cop was that her mother was a cop too. The girl had always lived by rules and tried her best to be an excellent daughter and woman. But, on the other hand, the boy was rebellious. He was a bad boy, and the girls seemed to like that. All the girls loved him. These two lived so near each other but never met. Until one day, one lucky day, these two would run into each other, not knowing that their lives would change forever. The boy was working in his jewelry store when the girl came in. She was tall and had long blonde hair. She had a beautiful, shy smile. The girl in her police uniform got the boy all speechless. She was looking to get something for herself. It was her birthday. The boy made the first move, saying that she needed to pay since it was her birthday. But, she insisted on paying, and she did. The boy wanted to know who she was. He saw her name on her uniform. Her name was Anna. But he didn't know where she lived. The boy wanted to know where this girl lived. The girl seemed like a very serious type of girl, nothing like the boy dealt with. She didn't give him a chance even to talk or ask anything. The girl didn't even look at his face. He asked around for the girl's name that he saw on her uniform. He found out that she lived so near his house. He was surprised how they didn't meet up until that day. But the boy got informed that Anna had very strict parents, and she rarely goes out. That would be a big problem for the boy. He would sometimes go by her house and spend hours in her neighborhood but never see her. The boy was used to all the girls being crazy about him, and he was used to getting any girl he wanted. A lot of girls come to his jewelry store just to see him. Anna was different. That's why the boy was curious about her. The boy couldn't stop talking about Anna to his friends. None of his friends knew her, but they always used to say that he shouldn't mess with her because her whole family worked in the police. They used to say that they were one crazy family. The boy decided to back up since he didn't find any solutions to meet her and talk to her. He talked to other girls during that time, but the curiosity never left. One day as he was walking home, he came across Anna. He was surprised. He went and talked to her and asked about how her birthday had gone. The first thing that she said was, "Who are you?" The boy was surprised, because everybody knew his name and who he was. The boy got humbled there. "My name is Sokol," he said surprisingly. As the boy was talking to her, Anna seemed very worried. She couldn't stop looking left and right. Sokol had asked her if there was anything wrong. "Anna has said that she is scared if her parents would see her with me. She said they don't like it if she hangs out with any boy." Sokol said, "Not even friends?" She said no, and started walking home, saying that he needed to leave her alone. Sokol felt bad for her. She was so young, and she was not enjoying life at all. Months went by, and Sokol had almost forgotten Anna's face. It was summertime, and everyone was out except her. One day as he was about to close the jewelry store, his father said, "Don't forget to put the alarm on." So, an idea came to his mind. He couldn't wait to get to work tomorrow and master his genius idea. Tomorrow came. The plan was that he should break the window of his jewelry store, and this way, the alarm would go on, and the police would come. And guess who works in the police? Anna. It was the only way that these two would meet. And that's what Sokol did. He closed the shop. He broke the window and started running home, acting like he had nothing to do with it. While he was staying home stressed, a phone call occurred. Sokol's father got the news and immediately went. Sokol went too. And there she was, Anna. She looked so beautiful and brave. Sokol was acting like he didn't know who did it and saying that he would beat up whoever did this. They stayed there for hours, trying to figure out who did it. This way they had the chance to talk with each other. Sokol could feel that Anna was starting to feel safe with him. But nothing more happened. They were back to their old ways, barely seeing each other anymore. After some weeks, Sokol had heard some bad news. People were talking and saying that Anna's family had found her a husband to marry. Sokol couldn't believe his ears. She was so young to get married, plus Sokol wanted to get to know her more. He felt like they could be together. So, Sokol tried to do his master plan once again. Maybe this time, it would work. It was night time, and he had finished his shift. This time he decided to take an expensive necklace, just so the story would be more believable. He took a stone and broke the window, and started running home as usual. He went home, and his father was already out. So he went with his father. After some minutes, the police arrived. And Anna was smiling, saying, "Again?" They still couldn't find who did that, but Sokol and Anna were talking non-stop with each other. Sokol tried to put his guard down and ask her straightforward about the rumors that she was going to get married. But she said that the rumors were fake. Sokol felt so happy, and he couldn't stop smiling. He went home feeling relieved. But Sokol didn't give up. He wanted to get to know her more and see her more. One day, he decided to go near her house and just see if she would come out or something. But Sokol saw something that he wished he didn't see. A guy was walking Anna home. Sokol hid somewhere so they wouldn't see him. That guy was a cop too, and they seemed to love each other's company. There were a million questions around his mind. Who was he? Anna said that her parents didn't let her hang out with a boy. Why was she? Is he the guy that people were rumoring about? At that moment, Sokol felt like he should give up and move on with his life. But he wanted to know why she lied to him about her not getting married. She was obviously with a guy, plus he was walking her home. Sokol felt like he had turned into a psychopath and a stalker. Because once again, he thought that his master plan should go on one more time. He did the usual thing. He broke the window and hoped for the better. His father got the news once again. But Sokol felt so bad when his father got the news. They were already spending a lot of money repairing the damages that Sokol was doing. Sokol decided that this would be the last time he would do that. The police came together with Anna. This time they were suspicious about this happening over and over again. They were finding it weird how every time this was happening when Sokol was working. But Sokol played it off like once again he didn't know what had happened. This time Sokol didn't have much time to ask Anna the questions he had. They barely talked. Sokol felt so down. He did all of this for nothing. Sokol's father had decided that he would be the one working all the time and that he would be working during the night too. Sokol felt hopeless. The following day, Sokol was sleeping when his mother had called him saying that someone was looking for him. He woke up and got dressed, whatever he could put on. It was Anna. He couldn't believe his eyes. She said that she wanted to talk with him. So that's what they did. The first thing she said was, "Why did you keep doing this?" She said that she knew that Sokol was the one breaking the windows. Sokol was speechless. She said that it was obvious that he did that, and she wanted to know the reason why. She said that she didn't want to tell Sokol's father because she believed that Sokol had a strong reason. Sokol knew that he had no other choice but just tell the truth. He said to her that she was the reason why he was doing all of this. She was surprised. Sokol said that he wanted to spend time and get to know her, but he couldn't. He told her that he liked her. He asked her if she liked him too and wanted to go out with him. What was her answer? What happened next? Well, they had me. So you might know how the rest of the story goes. They fell in love and spent the rest of their lives together. This is my favorite love story that I've ever heard because I admire how my father never gave up on my mother. Marriage and relationships can be hard, but you shouldn't give up on love. I envy my parents because nowadays nobody fights for love.
My name is Trisa, and I have just turned 18-year-old. I decided to tell a story, but it is not just any story. It is my story and what had happened to my family and me. I was born and raised in Skopje. I live with my two beautiful parents and my little brother Troji. Troji is only 1 year younger than me, but he still acts like a bit of a child and annoys me. I've always wanted a sister, and my parents tried for another baby, but I guess it is meant to be just Troji and me. But I don't complain because my mother is like a sister to me. Troji and I had an amazing childhood. It was so good growing up with our grandparents. They both had passed away this year from COVID. It doesn't go a day that I don't think about them. I miss them so much. But our lives have always been good. My parents worked so hard for the life that we have now. My father is an anesthesiologist, and he makes pretty good money from it. I heard that it is the highest paying job in the world. My mother, on the other hand, is a teacher. Everyone loves her. Well, who couldn't love her? She is the kindest and most loving. Even though my parents have completely different lives, they still manage to understand each other and love each other since day one. I have just graduated from high school, and I am very excited about what will happen next in my life. High school wasn't the best experience, and I am so glad that it is over. Life has become exactly like in the movies. I could hardly find a good friendship at my high school since everyone is so mean nowadays. But now, we had just welcomed my favorite season ever, summer. And life is just good. I love summer. The days get longer and warmer, and life generally becomes better. Since my parents work all the time, and my brother and I are at school. The only chance to go somewhere as a family is during summer. We always go with our cousins. It's always fun because they have 3 daughters. During vacations, you need to have someone that you have fun with. I can't have fun with my brother. He wants different things. He is a boy. But this summer our cousins couldn't come with us. I was so sad and angry when I heard about this. At first, I didn't want to go at all, but it was summer, and I had to make the most of it. So we decided to have a vacation. We decided on going to Italy, Amalfi Coast. Italy has always been a dream of all of us. We decided that we would go by car. And that's what we did. There was a long road ahead of us. Troji and I were sitting in the back seat of the car. I got my snacks and my headphones. My obsession right now is a rock band called Arctic Monkeys. Troji would always take my headphones and make my music stop, and this way. We would fight a bit. It was a long road trip with fights and laughs. We would make stops here and there until we arrived at our destination. And here it was, the famous Amalfi Coast. It looked better than the pictures. We decided to stay at a hotel that was near the beach and away from the city. There were a lot of tourists, and we needed some peaceful time. The hotel was very luxurious, and we all had a room to ourselves. But we shared a living room, and it was more like an apartment rather than a hotel. The view from my balcony was crazy. You could see the whole ocean. You could scream all you want, but no one would hear you. But that day we were so tired, we decided to sleep so we could be more energetic and enjoy the day the next day. The next day arrived, and we were so excited. I put on my favorite bikini and was ready to take a tan. We decided to stay by the beach. I love napping on the beach, it's just so peaceful. We didn't do much during the daytime. In the evening we decided to go and have some dinner. We wanted to go to places that weren't so near to our hotel, so we had to go by car. But it was only an 8-minute car ride or something. We arrived, and there were a lot of tourists. You could literally be lost in there. I was holding my mother's hand like I was only a 10-year-old. We ate dinner that night and then went back to our hotel and fell asleep. I wish we didn't get back to our hotel. I wish we didn't sleep. We did our thing, not knowing that something terrible was going to happen the next day. My alarm clock woke me up in the morning because we always wake up early during vacation. It was almost 7 a.m. I decided to sleep a little bit more, knowing well that my mother would wake me up. I slept and realized that nobody had come to my room to wake me up. I looked at the clock, and it was 8 a.m. There were no missed calls and no messages. I took my phone, just like I always do in the mornings. And I started scrolling. I noticed that the Wi-Fi wasn't working. I was surprised how this luxurious apartment had problems with Wi-Fi. I decided to go to the other rooms and wake my parents and my brother. Maybe they had missed the alarm, I thought. But I couldn't open the door. The door is locked. Some minutes went by, and I didn't panic at all until I heard someone begging the door. It was Mom, Dad, and my brother. Their rooms had been locked too. We could barely hear each other, but we were trying so hard to communicate. Their Wi-Fi and their phone weren't working. There was no signal. It had been 3 hours, and no one was coming to help us. Even our balcony door was blocked and couldn't get opened. Hours went by, and we were getting hungry and worried. My brother and I were in separate rooms. My parents were so worried that something terrible was going to happen. My dad couldn't stop a second without bagging the door. Then all of a sudden, we heard a noise. Someone came into the apartment and was walking around the living room. I could hear the steps. Then all of a sudden, a room got opened. It was my parents' room. Someone just went inside our parents' room, and our parents immediately started screaming. I was so scared something bad had happened to them. I could hear them talking, but I couldn't hear clearly. Then that person went out of the apartment. And I screamed, "Are you all right?" Luckily my parents answered, and they said that someone had just come to their room. They said that that person had a mask on, and they couldn't see who it was. That person had asked my parents for a big amount of money. Money was never an issue for my parents, so of course, they agreed to give the money. We noticed that my brother, Troji, was not talking at all as we were talking. We were screaming his name, but he was not answering. It had been hours, and we were so worried. I couldn't help but cry. Then that dangerous stranger came into the apartment again and told us loudly that they had taken Troji and would not bring him back unless they saw the amount of money they had asked for. They left us only one boiled egg, just so we could starve. That day was one of the most challenging days that I have ever experienced. I was so scared of Troji and where he was. My parents were crying non-stop. I wanted to hug them and tell them that everything is going to be all right. I fell asleep crying, and then I woke up by the noise of the door of the apartment. That guy had come back and gone to my parents' room and took my dad. They took my dad so he could withdraw money from the bank and give it to them. My dad tried to ask for help on the street, but the guy said to him that if he tried to do something stupid, they would kill him. My dad got even more worried now and said that he would not give the money unless he saw Troji. But they said to him that Troji was going to be waiting in the apartment and that we were good to go and free. But my dad came back, and Troji wasn't there. We were all so stressed, and I hadn't gotten out of the room for 2 days now. There was a lot of questions running through our mind. Who are they? How did they know that we were here and that my father was rich? Is it someone we know? I know that I said that Troji is annoying and that I hated him, but he is still my little brother. And I care about him. I missed his stupid voice and our stupid little fights. Another night had come, and we all fell asleep. I woke up in the morning and noticed that my room door was opened. I ran so fast like a kid on Christmas Day. I ran so fast to my parents' room to see if they were all right. They were sleeping. I woke up them hugging so hard. We were happy that we were together, at least. But our little Troji wasn't there yet. We ran to see if the door of the apartment had been opened. But, no. It was still closed. My dad tried to find ways so that we could escape. But, nothing was near us. No houses. No restaurants. Then it hit us that it would be better if we just stayed and waited. They could bring Troji anytime now. After some hours, a car pulled to the apartment. We took a look from the window and noticed that Troji was there. We were so happy. He came running into the apartment and had a key. He opened the door of our apartment. That was the first time that I hugged Troji. He explained to us everything that had happened to him. He said that the guys took him and held him in a house. He said that they didn't do anything bad to him. Then, we went to the person who owned the apartment and told them about everything that had happened to us. We decided to look at the cameras and see if we could find the suspects. We noticed that there were 2 guys, and one of them had no masks on. The police then had identified the suspect and then arrested him. Apparently, the guy was a tourist, and he just wanted to make some extra money. He didn't know who we were or where we were from. He had followed us that night that we went out. I am writing this while we are going on our way home. Our vacation had turned into a nightmare, and we couldn't get our money back. But we didn't care. We were glad that we were all right and together. We just wanted to get home safe. It's crazy what people do for money, and they are capable of putting lives in danger. This experience made me realize that anything can happen in a very unpredictable way. This experience didn't make me love Italy less. It was just bad timing. I can't wait to visit it again.
My name is Art and I have just turned 18-year-old. I wanted to share something that had happened and hopefully you don't make the same mistake that I did. I was born and raised in Pristina. I have always lived with my parents and my little brother. But now that I had turned 18-year-old, it was time for me to get out of the house. I was ready to live on my own and make my own rules. Plus, my parents don't understand that I need my space. My parents still treat me like I am a baby, but I am not. They are the sweetest parents and they care about me, but I just couldn't continue this way. My mother doesn't work, but my father owns the biggest shoe company. I love working there. I have been working with my father since I was 10 years old. Maybe I didn't do much back then, but I just loved being there with my father and seeing what he does. My father works very hard and we have always had a beautiful, easy life because of him. That's why I moved out. I work and I have my own money. But my place is very near my parents' house. They visit me almost every day. It has been months since I have been living alone and I love it. Everything is easier and I can do whatever I want to. At first, I only lived eating noodles and fast food. But I have been watching some cooking show videos and I have learned a lot. I am not going to school this year. I decided to take a gap year and make some money. My parents hate this fact, but I can't work if I go to school. My parents don't understand how the world works nowadays. Nowadays it's essential if you have money, especially being a boy. If you don't work and have money, it's hard to keep a girlfriend too. However, I never had a problem with girls. In my school, they used to call me Casanova. And that's what my story is about. Girls. Girls are trouble, and everybody knows this. They are the devil itself, but we're still crazy about them, right? In Pristina, there are a lot of beautiful and hot girls. Some of them are easy to catch, and some aren't. 3 months ago, I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and I came across a girl named Rita. Her photos were breathtaking and she looked so beautiful. I decided to follow her. I take care of my Instagram because girls will not follow you back if you don't have good pictures. She followed me back, so I decided to text her. She was from the city too, but I had never seen her before. I texted Rita a lot and she seemed such a fun person. After 1 week, I asked to see her live. At first, she kept saying that it was too early for us to meet. But what if you are photoshopping your pics and you don't turn out to be how I wanted? I don't judge girls on their looks, but I don't want someone to lie to my face. You can never trust social media nowadays. I'd rather see her live and see if we vibe and not waste time. So, that's what Rita and I did. We met. I went to her place and picked her up. I was driving my dad's car since I still didn't have my own. My dad has a fast and expensive car and girls love it. Rita loved it too. When we met, Rita seemed a little bit shy. I couldn't tell if that was her personality or it was because of the first time seeing each other. It's understandable to be shy and excited on the first date. But Rita looked even better than in the photos. She was blonde, tall, skinny, and had a beautiful smile with perfect teeth. She was my type. We went to a sushi place and we both enjoyed our little date. Days went by and I had already asked her for another date. We could go to my place or I don't know, whatever she would like. But Rita had very strict parents and they didn't let her go out as often as she wanted. Plus, she had brothers. She was afraid that her brothers would find out that she was going out with me. Brothers are very overprotective over their sisters. So, I didn't insist on going out. I tried to understand her. Plus, I didn't want to deal with her brothers. But, I am only 18-year-old and I am not looking for a serious relationship. I am still young to settle down. I have my whole life ahead of me. It's hard to enjoy life while being in a serious relationship. Rita couldn't go out with me, but I could go with other girls. I mean, why not? I have nothing to lose. This time, a girl followed me. Girls never follow first, and that was strange to me. I followed her back to see who she was. Her name was Tatiana. Just by reading her name, she sounded so hot and beautiful to me. She accepted my following request so fast. She had over 80 posts. She clearly enjoys her life. I stalked her and it looked like she was some years older than me. I didn't want to text her immediately. She was the first one to follow me and I was just curious if she would be the first one to text too. After some days, that's what she did. We texted and I learned a lot about her. Apparently, she is from Germany, but she is on her winter vacation here in Pristina. She said she was here for some months only, staying at her family's place. I thought to myself, some months are enough for me to go out with this girl. I was still texting Rita, but that didn't mean that I was in a relationship. So, I decided to ask Tatiana out. It had been only some hours since I started texting with her, but we decided to meet. I told Rita that I went to sleep early that night since she was texting to me non-stop. She didn't have to know. I met up with Tatiana. She had black hair and was a little bit shorter than me. It was January, but she wore a very short dress and high boots. I could tell that she had been in a tan salon. Tatiana was completely a different type from Rita. Was it possible to like two types of girls at the same time? It was a little late and we had no idea where to go. She knew that I was living alone, so she said that we could go to my place. I am the one who usually tells girls to go to my place. But, we went to my place. We talked and talked for hours. Tatiana was a very open-minded girl and not shy at all. I loved that. She was the first one to kiss me. It is so hot when the girl makes the first move. But, we stopped at the kiss. It had been weeks since I was texting Rita and Tatiana. Rita and I had our first kiss too. It had been my first month anniversary of Rita and me and Tatiana. There were times that I felt guilty talking to both of them at the same time. But I liked them both. They were so different and I liked this fact. What Rita didn't have, Tatiana did. What Tatiana didn't have, Rita did. I was having a great time with both of them. I could make time for everything. But, there were times when Rita would ask to look through my phone. I'd tell her that we should just end it all if she didn't trust me. There were times when Tatiana would call me and I'd be with Rita. But thank God, none of them didn't find out about this. It had been 3 months, and there was 1 week left until Valentine's Day. I was hoping that Rita couldn't go out that day or Tatiana. I can't go out with both of them. At first, I didn't talk to any of them about Valentine's Day. But they were the ones that kept talking and making plans. I couldn't say no. This is where everything goes wrong. A new restaurant just got opened in our city, and both of them said that it would be a great idea to go there for Valentine's. What a coincidence. At first, I panicked and I didn't know what to do. But then I got an idea. I thought to myself that I could go during the daytime with Rita and then during the night with Tatiana. Or either way, it didn't matter. Luckily, they agreed. Rita said that she could go out for Valentine's Day during the daytime. So that's what I will do. First I will go with Rita and then Tatiana. Valentine's Day had come and I started getting ready. I bought flowers for both of them and I wrote a cute little note. I was just waiting for Rita to tell me to go and pick her up. I was waiting and wasting time. She wasn't texting me back. Then, she called me saying that she couldn't go out immediately. She said that her brothers were there. I decided to wait, thinking that it would be only some minutes or something. But, no. She made me wait for 2 hours. It was almost time for me to go and pick up Tatiana. She was texting me and telling me that she was getting ready. She was sending me pics of her outfits and making me choose. God, she looked like a goddess in every dress. But I was sweating. The clock was ticking and it was time to go and pick up Tatiana. All of a sudden, Rita said that she could go out now. I went to her house without wasting time and we went to the restaurant. She looked beautiful and happy to see me. I put my phone on silent just in case Tatiana calls me. Rita and I ordered some food and we were just talking and enjoying our time. Suddenly, I get a text from Tatiana saying, "Where are you?" I needed to go and take her. I told Rita I had to go to the bathroom and I drove so fast that I almost had an accident. I picked her up and now I had to make sure that we would be sitting somewhere far from our table with Rita. I said to the restaurant owner that we wanted a private place. Luckily he found us one. I felt safe there. It was just Tatiana and me. I told her that I needed to go to the bathroom. I went immediately to Rita's. She was waiting for me. So I planned to stay some minutes at Rita's and then some minutes at Tatiana's without getting caught. I was getting tired from going back and forth, but luckily they weren't noticing anything. I just wanted this night to be over. As I was staying with Rita, she said that she had to go to the bathroom. That was the perfect time for me to go and talk to Tatiana for a bit. But Tatiana wasn't there. Then, I saw both of them getting out of the bathroom. I panicked so hard and went outside for a cigarette. I was so scared. A million questions were running through my mind. Do they know each other? Was it just a coincidence that they were at the same time in the bathroom? I decided to think positively and go on with my night. I went to Tatiana's. And there she was. Rita was there too. I couldn't believe my eyes. I felt like I could faint, but I tried to play it cool. They were laughing with each other. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, "Do you guys know each other?" Tatiana spilled wine on my face and said yes. Both of them planned this whole Valentine's Day. They played me exactly how I played them. They said that they knew earlier that I was talking with both of them, but they were waiting on me to tell them the truth. Both of them seemed to be very heartbroken. It made me realize how wrong I was. I liked Rita and Tatiana, but now I had lost both of them. I didn't know what I was doing until I saw them together. That Valentine's Day made me a whole different person. Someone could have done the same thing to me. Someone could have done this to my mother, to my sister. I just wanted to share my story and tell everyone that you shouldn't be playing with people's feelings. Don't get into a relationship unless you're willing to commit.
My mom was born into a practicing Christian family. She spent most of her life in the church. She had a room in the church then where she passed the night when there is a program at church. At some point, she was the leader of the choir. My mom was very close to the head pastor, Mr. Brown. Pastor Brown liked my mom because of her energy in participating in church activities. My mom's church does not have a school at first, so whenever there is a program at church, as soon as my mom leaves school, she heads straight to church. After several consultations, the church decided to build a school for the children of its members. Before my mom graduated from junior secondary school, the school was completed. So, she decided to leave St. Chris High School and enroll in the school built in her church. The church named the School of Worship. The launching of the school was a memorable event. Dignitaries from all parts of the country attended the launch. Dignitaries were thrilled to melodious songs by my mom and other members of the choir group. My mom received a lot of gifts from the dignitaries because of her melodious voice. After the launch, my mom traveled to a church program alongside members of her choir group. They went to a program in Miami that had all churches in attendance. The program was designed as a competition between churches. The program was scheduled to last for 3 days because it had more than 50 churches in attendance. The program was designed to honor a Christian singer who died some weeks ago. On the day of the grand finale, 5 churches were left. The 4 churches were St. Augustine Church, the Parish of Worship, and House on the Rock Church, Praiseworthy Church, and my mom's church, the Church of Worship. The grand finale was shown live at various churches across the city. The show started with songs from the choirs of the various churches. My mom's church was scheduled to perform last. When the anchor called my mom's church on stage, the noise that emanated from the hall could not be quantified. Everybody in the hall was screaming. It took the intervention of the anchor before the noise stopped. My mom and her colleagues sang melodious songs. Everybody was on their feet clapping when my mom and her colleagues were walking off the stage. After the performance, the judges went into a closed-door meeting to select the winner of the competition. 1 hour after, the judges came back to the hall. The chief judge appreciated the churches that participated in the competition, especially those that made it to the final. He said they have all performed well, but it's unfortunate that there can only be one winner. He urged the church that will be announced as winners of the competition should be magnanimous in victory, while others should prepare for the next event because it will be held annually. The chief judge of the competition invited 2 dignitaries, Mr. Ryan Patrick and Mrs. Mariah Solomon, to the stage for the presentation of prizes to the winners. The chief judge told everybody to remain silent because the result is about to be announced. The chief judge said in the 5th position goes to St. Augustine Church. The announcement was met with a huge round of applause from the audience. The chief judge invited their lead choir to come and collect their prize. The lead choir joined Mr. Ryan Patrick and Mrs. Mariah Solomon on stage. She took a photograph with them and she was given her prize. Her colleagues were also invited to the podium to take photographs with the 2 dignitaries. The audience kept quiet in anticipation for the next announcement. The chief judge said the 4th position goes to the House on the Rock Church. They received a huge round of applause from the audience as they all walked to the podium to receive their prize. After receiving their prize, they took photographs with the dignitaries and the chief judge before they left the podium. The hall went silent again in anticipation of the next announcement. The chief judge said the 3rd position goes to the Parish of Worship Church. The announcement was met with a huge round of applause by the audience. The lead choir and her colleagues made their way to the podium to receive their prize. They were handed their prize after taking photographs with the dignitaries and the chief judge. At this point, 2 churches were still standing. The Praiseworthy Church and the Church of Worship, which is my mom's church. This time around, it was difficult to control the audience. Those that were for my mom's church were screaming her name, while those that were for the Praiseworthy Church were also screaming. It took several pleas from the chief judge and the dignitaries to silence the audience. The chief judge said if they do not keep quiet, there is no way he can announce the winners of the competition. After several pleas, everybody kept quiet in anticipation of the announcement of the chief judge. The chief judge said there will be a slight change in the announcement. He said he has been announcing the result in descending order, but he will like to change the order of the announcement. He said instead of announcing the 2nd position, he will move to the 1st position. He said what that means is that any name he mentions now is the winner. He said the remaining church is automatically the 2nd position. The chief judge kept teasing the audience. Some of them could not sit. Some covered their eyes. The chief judge said the 1st position goes to the Church of Worship. The hall erupted. Even my mom's church back home erupted. The noise was out of this world. It was uncontrollable. The prize for the church in the 2nd position was handed to them before my mom and her colleagues were called to the podium to come and receive their prizes. After receiving their prize, they took photographs with the dignitaries and the audience. The next day, they traveled back home. They were welcomed by a very huge crowd. They were hosted in the church's auditorium. A lot of people in the neighborhood who were not members of their church came to celebrate with them. At the event, the head pastor announced that everybody that participated in the competition will get an all-expense-paid trip to Spain to watch the El Clasico. The announcement received a huge round of applause from the audience. The El Clasico is unarguably the biggest derby in world football. It features the best football players from across the world. The El Clasico features players like Lionel Messi, who is arguably the best player in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo, who is also argued to be the best player in the world, Neymar, Dani Alves, Xavi Hernandez, Andres Iniesta, Luka Modric, Daniel Carvajal, Sergio Ramos, Marcelo, Jordi Alba, Gerard Pique, Carles Puyol, Sergio Busquets, Toni Kroos, Angel Di Maria, Gareth Bale, and many other big players. My mom said she has never traveled to Spain before, so it came as a huge gift for her. 5 hours after the event, the head pastor reached out to the members that their flight is on Tuesday. All the members of the choir left the church on Monday and returned to their houses to prepare for their trip to Spain on Tuesday. When my mom got home, she did her laundry. After she finished her laundry, she packed her clothes into her bag. My mom came to the sitting room and sat down. She put on the television and started watching. While she was watching, she was anticipating her trip to Spain. She was anticipating how she will see Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, who are adjudged to be the best players on the continent. She was happy that she will see people she used to see on television in a live stadium. She sat in the sitting room until her dad arrived. When he arrived, he went to his room and changed his cloth. He later joined my mom in the sitting room. My mom told him about the preparation for her trip. While they were talking, my mom received a text message from the senior pastor that they should all meet at the church at 7 a.m. because their plane will leave by 8:30 a.m. As soon as my mom saw the message, she showed my dad. She pleaded with my dad to drop her at the church the next morning before he goes to work. Her dad agreed. The next day, my mom took her bath as early as 6 a.m. By 6:30 a.m., she was sitting in the sitting room with her bag. My head came out of his room at exactly 6:35 and they drove off to church. Her dad dropped her at the church gate at exactly 6:50 a.m. while he drove to his office. My mom entered the church and joined her colleagues who were already waiting for her at the church's auditorium. At exactly 7 a.m., they left the church to the airport. They got to the airport at exactly 8 a.m. They went to the restaurant to have breakfast while they wait to board their flight. At exactly 8:20 a.m., they boarded their flight and the plane took off at exactly 8:30 a.m. They had a lot of fun on the plane. The journey was inspiring and they entertained other passengers with their melodious songs. The plane landed in Spain at exactly 11:30 a.m. As soon as they landed at the airport in Spain, they entered into a bus that was already waiting for them. The bus conveyed them to their hotel. When they got to their hotel, they were all given different rooms. The city of Spain was buzzing in anticipation of the El Clasico. Their hotel was in Barcelona, so they met a lot of Barcelona fans. The next day, they were taken to the iconic Camp Nou stadium. They were taken through all the facilities in the stadium. After that, we went to the training pitch where the Barcelona players were preparing for the big match on Sunday. After they watched the training, they went to a nearby restaurant to have a meal. We went around the city until late in the evening before we returned to our hotel. The next day, we were taken to the iconic Santiago Bernabéu Stadium. The stadium has witnessed a lot of Champions League and European Cup finals. Their first point of call when we arrived at the stadium was the trophy cabinet. They saw different types of trophies which include the Champions League, the La Liga, the European Cup, the Club World Cup, and the Copa del Rey. When we left the trophy cabinet, we were taken to the women's football team training pitch. We watched the women train. When they finished their training, they took pictures with all the players. From there, we went to the men's training pitch. The men's training pitch was filled. All the fans wanted to have a feel of the training before the players leave for Barcelona. After the training, fans were allowed to take photographs with the players. They waited until every fan took pictures before we took ours. They got a signed jersey from Sergio Ramos, who was the captain of Real Madrid. They left the training pitch and headed straight to the Madrid restaurant to have our lunch. They ate different types of food. We all ate to our satisfaction. After the meal, they went around the neighborhood. At exactly 6 p.m., they gathered at our car park and drove back to our hotel. As soon as they got to our hotel, they all went to our respective rooms and slept off because we were all tired. The next day, they didn't go out at all. We stayed in our hotel all through because we had a guest. Their guest was the lead singer of the biggest church in Spain. They had a good time with him. He thrilled them to a lot of melodious tunes alongside his band members. After the songs, they were allowed to ask him questions. He answered all their questions before he left. On Sunday, they all woke up very early. It was the D-Day. They were very happy because it was what they came to Spain for. The match was slated for 4 p.m., but they were told to leave their hotel as early as 11 a.m. because of the crowd that will be on the streets and the crowd outside the stadium. By 8 a.m., they had all taken their baths. They were served breakfast at exactly 9 a.m. They sat in their hotel room waiting for the bus that will convey them to the stadium to arrive. At exactly 11 a.m., their bus arrived. They all left their hotel room and entered the bus. The bus left the hotel at exactly 11:05 a.m. They didn't arrive at the stadium until 1 p.m. A ride of 30 minutes lasted for almost 2 hours. When they got to the stadium, they met another huge crowd trying to gain access to the stadium. The 4 gates that entered the stadium had a long queue. At going back and forth, they settled for one. They all queued at the second gate. The queue kept moving slowly until it got to them at around 3 p.m. When they gained access into the stadium, the players were already on the pitch doing their pre-match warm-up. Because of the crowd, they were advised to seat close to one another so that they wouldn't have to be looking for anybody after the match. At exactly 4 p.m., the players walked onto the pitch. The Barcelona players sang their club's anthem, which was followed by Real Madrid's club anthem. After the anthems of both clubs, the referee invited the captains of both clubs to the center circle. He asked them to choose each side of a coin so that he can decide which position each team will take and which team will pass the ball first. After the tossing of the coin, Barcelona was to pass the ball first. The 2 captains left the referee and joined their teammates for a photo session. After the photo session, the players of each team went round the stadium to appreciate their fans. The match started at exactly 4:10 p.m. The first 20 minutes was all about Real Madrid. From where they were sitting, they could hear the noise of the away fans. 30 minutes into the match, Lionel Messi received a pass from Xavi Hernandez. He was through on goal before he was fouled by Real Madrid's captain Sergio Ramos. Sergio Ramos got a yellow card while Barcelona got a free kick right in front of Real Madrid's box. As soon as Lionel Messi stood behind the free kick, the away stand became silent. Barcelona fans regained their lost voice. After Lionel Messi positioned the ball, the referee blew his whistle. As Lionel Messi took the free kick, it landed in the Madrid net. The stadium erupted in jubilation. Barcelona fans took over the stadium. After 45 minutes, the referee blew the whistle for the end of the first half. As soon as the players went into the dressing room, Chris Brown mounted the stage. He thrilled the fans for 15 minutes before the players made their way back onto the pitch. At exactly 5:05 p.m., the referee blew the whistle for the commencement of the second half. The second started with Madrid on top as they did in the first half. They were playing very well, but they couldn't get a goal. 60 minutes into the match, Barcelona Football Club got a penalty against the run of play. Once again, Lionel Messi stood behind the ball. As soon as the referee blew his whistle, Lionel Messi kicked the penalty and it landed in Madrid's net. At that point, it looked like all hope was lost for Madrid until they got a penalty in the 80th minute. Cristiano Ronaldo took the ball and placed it on the penalty spot. As soon as the referee blew his whistle, Cristiano Ronaldo kicked the ball and it landed in Barcelona's Football Club's net. Madrid continued to search for the equalizer, which made them commit a lot of players forward. In the 89th minute, Real Madrid Football Club got a corner kick. All their players went forward, including the goalkeeper. As soon as the corner kick was taken, it fell in the hand of the Barcelona Football Club goalkeeper. As soon as he caught the ball, he kicked it to Lionel Messi, who was standing alone in Real Madrid Football Club's half. As soon as the ball landed on his feet, he kicked it into an empty net, which gave Barcelona Football Club 3-1 advantage. Real Madrid Football Club players took the ball to the center pitch and restarted the game. 30 seconds after they restarted the game, the referee blew his whistle for the end of the game. Barcelona Football Club supporters continued their celebration while Real Madrid fans exited the stadium. My mom and her colleagues watched the celebration before they were called. They left the stadium at 7 p.m. It was difficult for cars to get access to the roads because of the number of people on the road. They struggled with people on the road before they finally arrived at their hotel at 9:30 p.m. As soon as they came down from the bus, everyone went to their hotel rooms. The tiredness was on everyone's face. There was no time for any chat. They all entered their room and slept off. The next day, most of them didn't wake up early. They were supposed to leave the next day, but they couldn't because most of them were not prepared. Fortunately for them, their visa and tickets were not ready. Most of them spent the day doing laundry and packing their clothes into their bags. Around 8 p.m., their visa and tickets were brought to them. According to their tickets, their flight was scheduled for 10 a.m. the next day. As soon as they received their tickets, they contacted the driver of the bus that has been taking them around the city since they arrived. They told the driver to come to the hotel as early as 7:30 a.m. to pick them. There were no time for a chat that night because everybody went to bed early in anticipation of the next day's trip. The next day, they all woke up when the alarm ranged at 5:30 a.m. They all took their baths and sat in their rooms waiting for the arrival of the bus driver. The bus driver arrived at exactly 7:25 a.m. As soon as he arrived, they entered the bus and left for the airport. They arrived at the airport at exactly 8 a.m. They went to the restaurant to eat breakfast because they did not eat before they left the hotel. At exactly 9:45 a.m., they all boarded the flight. The plane left Spain at exactly 10 a.m. and landed in the United States of America at exactly 1 p.m. As soon as they landed in the United States of America, they all went to the church to appreciate the head pastor. The head pastor was very happy to see them. He asked them about their short stay in Spain. They told him everything that happened in Spain. They told him about the culture, food, and the people of Spain. They told him about the El Clasico too. They said since they were born, they have never seen a football match like the El Clasico. The head pastor said he deliberately chose Spain for them because he knew they will enjoy their stay in Spain. He told them about his visit to Spain for the first time. He said his first visit to Spain was during the El Clasico and he enjoyed it. He said since then, he has only missed the El Clasico twice. He urged them to keep up the good work that earned them the visit to Spain. He promised them another big prize if they represent the church very well in the next competition. They all thanked the head pastor and they all left for their homes. When my mom got home, she was welcomed by everyone in the neighborhood. She received a lot of gifts from people for her outstanding performance at the competition. My mom went to bed as early as 8 p.m. that day because she was tired. The next day, my mom woke up very late. When she woke up, she did her laundry in preparation for school on Monday. The next Monday, my mom resumed at our church's school. All students gathered at the assembly ground at exactly 7:30. They sang worship songs, the national anthem. The head pastor himself was on the assembly ground. He taught students the school anthem that he composed. After that, he addressed all students on the assembly ground. He urged them to take their academics seriously. He said he wants them to make the school and their parents proud. After addressing them, he told them to walk to their classes. When they got to their class, the head pastor went round the classes to introduce the new teachers to the students. After the introduction, normal school activities commenced. While lectures were going on, my mom took permission from her class teacher to visit the toilet. While she was walking to the toilet, she came in contact with the head pastor who was going around the school to monitor all activities. The head pastor asked my mom what she was doing outside. She told him that she took permission from her class teacher before she went out. While my mom was walking to the toilet, the head pastor could not take his eyes off her ass. My mom had a very big ass which was admired by a lot of men. The head pastor waited for my mom. When she was returning to her class, he called her. He said when she gets to class, she should inform her class teacher that she was summoned by him. He said as soon as she delivers the message to her class teacher, she should come straight to his office. The head pastor did that to avoid suspicion. When my mom got to her class, she delivered the message to her class teacher. Since it was the head pastor, her class teacher had nothing to say. My mom left her class and made her way to the head pastor's office. When she got to the door, she knocked. The head pastor asked who was at the door. My mom replied. As soon as he heard my mom's voice, he told her to come inside. When my mom opened the door, she met the head pastor sitting on his chair. She stood close to his table waiting to hear what she wants to say. The head pastor didn't want to see her standing, therefore, he told her to sit. As soon as my mom sat, the head pastor started talking. He told my mom that what he is about to tell her might surprise her, but it is how he feels. He said he knows she won't expect what he wants to stay from someone like him, but he cannot keep it to himself anymore. The head pastor said he has been admiring my mom since she was very young. He said he is happy to see her grow and become the woman that she is now. He said the summary of what he wants to tell her is that he loves her. My mom was shocked. It wasn't something she was expecting from him. My mom said he has a wife. What does he want to do about his wife? The pastor said he is not divorcing his wife and he is not marrying my mom. He just wants them to be very close. While the head pastor was talking, he stood up from his seat and went very close to my mom. He kept staring at her boobs because she had a loose button. The boobs were inviting. Suddenly, he dipped his hands in my mother's shirt and pressed her boobs. At first, my mother was trying to resist, but when the pressing continued, she didn't know when she started moaning softly. The head pastor continued. He continued pressing her boobs while he was kissing her in her mouth. After some minutes, he removed my mom's shirt completely. He had sex with my mom in his office. They stopped when they heard the bell. My mom and the head pastor continued to have sex in school until my mom graduated. Even after her graduation, they were still having sex. When my mom got admission into college, the head pastor usually sneak out of the church to go and have sex with my mom in her school. All this was going on and nobody knew. 2 years after my mom left college, she got married. The head pastor was the presiding pastor on the wedding day. He said a lot of things about having sex outside marriage. His sermon attracted a huge round of applause from the crowd that was present at the wedding. After my mom got married, she was still having sex with the head pastor. It was easy for her to leave the house to go and meet the head pastor because of her position in the church. Whenever she tells my dad that she has a church program, he doesn't stop her. He knew her very well before he married her. He knew she doesn't joke with church activities. A year after my mom's wedding, she got pregnant. At the early stage of the pregnancy, she was still having sex with the head pastor. But when the pregnancy got to an advanced stage, they stopped having sex. 9 months after, my mom gave birth to me. Once again, the head pastor was the presiding pastor on the day of my naming ceremony. He congratulated my mom and urged others to emulate my mom. He praised her commitment to the activities of the church. 2 years after, I joined the school in our church. My mom used to drive me to school so that she could see the head pastor. Even when my mother gave birth, she didn't stop having sex with the head pastor. The most interesting thing is that they were having sex for years and nobody knew. Nobody ever suspected them. Everybody taught my mom was always in the church because of church programs. While I was preparing for my final exam, my mom was coming to school regularly because the church had an end-of-the-year event. The head pastor chose a 30-member committee which my mom was the chairman. Because of her position, she was always in church. When I come out of my class, I used to see my mom in the school compound. I will see her doing one thing or another. When I see her on most occasions, I usually scream her name from afar, and she will wave at me. Most times, she doesn't have time to talk to me because she is doing one thing or another. One day, the school closed very early because we were told to go home and prepare for our test. When I came out of my class, I searched for my mom everywhere around the church premises, but I didn't see her. I went to the room that was given to her by the church, but I didn't see her. When I searched for her everywhere and I didn't see her, I sat on a chair waiting for her to appear. 20 minutes after, my mom was still nowhere to be found. While I was sitting on the chair, I saw one of the workers in the church. She asked me while I was sitting there lonely when every student has gone home. I told her my mom was supposed to take me home, but I can't find her. I told her that I have searched everywhere in the church, but she is nowhere to be found. The woman said it seems she saw her walking to the head pastor's office. She asked me whether I have checked her at the head pastor's office. I said I haven't. She said since I should check her in the head pastor's office. I appreciated the woman while I made my way to the head pastor's office. About 5 steps to the pastor's office, I started hearing my mom's voice. She was laughing heavily. I didn't know what could be happening in the pastor's office that would warrant such a laugh. When I got to the door, I started ta-ta-ta-ta like someone was clapping. I wondered what could be happening. The sound continued for minutes. I wanted to know what was happening in the room. I went to the back of the office and piped through the window. I was shocked by what I saw. I saw the head pastor and my mom having serious sex. You could see in their faces how they were enjoying it. After I watched to my satisfaction, I went back to the door and knocked. As soon as they hear the knock, they stopped. They asked who was at the gate. I replied. When they heard my voice, they were shocked. They quickly dressed up and opened the door. My mom asked me why I came to the head pastor's office. I said I have been looking for her since the school closed, but I didn't see her. I said it was one of the workers that said I should check for her at the head pastor's office. My mom was not sure if I saw what happened or not. She was moody till we got home. Hey, guys, please let me know if this is right or if this is what I should do, or please let me have your thoughts on this.
Love can be found anywhere. It can be found in weird places and weird circumstances. This is a story that talks about how true love was found in an unusual circumstance. An emergency phone call that was made to solve a very important issue led to a great love story. Daniel is a respected police officer. He does his work diligently. He has received several recognitions from a lot of government agencies for standing firm in trial periods. He has led many successful operations. Daniel joined the police force because of his father. His father was a police officer too, but he retired before Daniel joined the force. Daniel chose to join the police force because of the stories of different operations he heard from his father. During weekends when Daniel's father is at home, he usually tells him about dangerous operations they went. All these stories and the love Daniel had for the United States made him decide to join the United States Police Force. When Daniel graduated from high school, his father was still in service. He usually follows his father to the office once in a while because his father was a senior police officer. From there, he started knowing little things about the police force. He followed his father to the office one Sunday morning. Unfortunately, gunmen attacked their base. The policemen were able to overpower the gunmen, but they lost some officers. Daniel's father was very sad that day because he has just been promoted as the head of that base. When they got home, Daniel's father explained to him about the dangers involved in joining the police. He asked him if he saw the casualty they recorded when the gunmen invaded their base. Daniel replied in the affirmative. He said it happens almost every day. He said policemen die in the course of carrying out their duty every day. He said he was telling him that to know what he wants to get into. 1 year after Daniel graduated from high school, he got admission into Miami College. One day, some gunmen invaded their campus. Daniel joined the security men in overpowering the gunmen. From then on, people began to notice him in college. The head of security in the college personally invited Daniel to the school's security guard. Every Saturday and Sunday, Daniel usually joins the security guard in their training. After 4 years, Daniel graduated from college. As soon as Daniel graduated from college, he joined the police force. Fortunately, his first posting was to his father's base, but unfortunately, his father retired 2 months before he was posted. Daniel was happy that he was able to fulfill his dream of becoming a police officer. He carried out his duties diligently without fear or favor. He was always ready to tackle the enemies of the state. 5 months into Daniel's stay at his base, a beautiful female police officer was transferred to his base. On her arrival, she was brought to Daniel's office for briefing because he is her immediate boss. Because of Mary's hard work, she became Daniel's favorite officer. They did everything together. They went on deadly assignments together. As time passed by, they began to fall in love with each other, but none of them was ready to make the first move. Months went by without any tangible approach from any of them. One day, Daniel went to the gym with his friend Tony. After the gym, Daniel told Tony about Mary. He told him how he cannot stop thinking about Mary. He said he is afraid to share his feelings with Mary because of 2 things. He said the first is that if Mary accepts to date him, it might impact negatively on their work. He said his love for her can interfere negatively in their job to the extent of giving her preferential treatment over others. He said the second reason is that if Mary does not accept to date him, she might start disrespecting him. She might not give him the respect she used to give him before. Tony told Daniel that love supersedes everything he is thinking about. He said if he likes Mary, he should do the needful before another man snatches her away from him. After listening to Tony's advice, Daniel decided to take the bold step. He called Mary when he got home and asked her if she was free the next day. Mary told Daniel that she will be free the next day. He told her to meet him at the Miami resort the next day. "Do you want me to do anything for you, sir?" Mary asked. "No," Daniel replied. He said there is an important thing he wants to tell her. Mary agreed to meet Daniel at the Miami resort the next day. When she dropped the call, she started thinking about why Daniel wanted to see her. In her mind, she started thinking if Daniel was ready to tell her what she has been craving to hear from him since the day she was posted to his base. On Sunday morning, Mary did her normal cycling exercise. After the exercise, she took breakfast. While she was eating her breakfast, she called Daniel to ask him the time they are to meet. Daniel gave her the honor of choosing the time she felt will be most comfortable for her. Mary said she thinks 12 is better. Daniel said he has no problem with the time she chose. After eating breakfast, Mary went to the bathroom and took a shower. At that time, the time was 8:30 a.m. She felt she had a lot of time because her house is just 30 minutes drive to the Miami resort. Not knowing what to do, Mary put on her television set and started watching a movie she bought. She has been watching the movie for more than a month. She has not been able to complete watching the movie because of her busy schedule at the office. She thought that, since she still has like 2.5 hours before she leaves home, the best thing is for her to continue her movie from where she stopped. She loves the movie so much because the movie details the day-to-day job of a police officer. The movie was recommended to her by one of her colleagues. She watched the movie until 10:30 a.m. When she noticed that the time was 10:30 a.m., she switched off the television and went to the bathroom to take her bath. By 11:30 a.m., she has finished dressing and was ready to hit the road. By 12:05 a.m., she got to the Miami resort. At first, she didn't see Daniel, so she had to call him. When Daniel answered the call, she asked him if he has arrived at the Miami resort. Daniel told her that he has been there for more than 30 minutes because he wanted to be there before her. She told him that he should come and pick her at the front of the resort because she cannot see him. Daniel rushed to the gate to pick Mary. They walked to where Daniel was sitting. Daniel ordered for a bottle of wine while Mary ordered preferred juice. For more than 5 minutes, Daniel did not say anything. He kept thinking if what he was about to do was the best. At some point, he wanted to change his mind, but he kept remembering what Tony told him. He didn't know how he will feel if he sees Mary with another man. Mary sat for 5 minutes and she didn't hear anything from Daniel. She asked him why he said he wanted to see her. She said she was surprised when he told her on phone to meet him at the Miami resort because she knows him as someone who likes staying indoor when he is not at work. Daniel told Mary that he has his reasons for telling her to meet him at the resort. He felt the resort was the best place to say it. He said he has been thinking about what he wants to tell her for months, but he thinks this is the right time for him to say it. He said everybody knows him in office as a disciplined man. He said they know him as someone who does not associate with the female gender at work or home. He said it has been like that since he was young. He said the reason for such is not that he doesn't like women, but since he was a child, he has never met a woman that was diligent as Mary. He said the first day he saw her in his office, he thought she was like other female officers who don't take their job seriously. But his perception changed when they went for an operation in Michigan. He said he was happy with the courage she displayed in the operation. He said asides that, he has been watching her closely at work. He said how she faces her job squarely. He said female police officers like Mary are rare in the police force. He said all these and many more are why he has decided to make the decision he is about to tell her. He said he doesn't know how she will accept what he was about to tell her, but what he is about to tell her is nothing but the truth. "What do you want to tell me?" Mary asked. Daniel said he wants to tell her that he loves her, and he will want to spend the rest of his life with her. Mary could not utter a word, even though it was what she wanted to hear. She didn't know her immediate boss could be this romantic. The look on Daniel's face showed he meant what he said, so it was not difficult for Mary to make her decision. Moreover, it was something she has been waiting to hear from him. Mary looked at Daniel in his face. She told him that she has been craving to hear what he just told her for months. Mary said she fell in love with Daniel the first day she stepped foot in the base. She said she has been hearing positive reviews about him before she was posted there. She said she heard more of his positive reviews when she entered the base the first day. She said policemen who take their work diligently like Daniel are rare. She urged him to continue to do more for the police force. After they had their rink, Daniel invited Mary to his house. Daniel drove in his car while Mary drove in her car. After 20 minutes of leaving the Miami resort, they arrived at Daniel's house. Daniel showed Mary around his house. He showed her all the awards he has won in the course of his service. He took her to his gym center and his swimming pool. After going round the rows, they finally settled down on the couch. Daniel and Mary continued their conversation. This time, their conversation changed from their work duties to a more intimate one. They talked about sex. Daniel asked Mary if she was comfortable with having sex on the first date. Mary said she doesn't think it is bad. At that point, Daniel knew what Mary said was an invite. He went very close to Mary and kissed her. It was as if Mary was waiting for the kiss. She kissed him and they started kissing passionately. While they were kissing, Daniel's hand was in Mary's boobs. He was fondling it while Mary was using her hand to romance his nipple. The moaning was so loud that they had to put on the television so that neighbors won't hear their moan. After kissing and romancing for some minutes, Daniel carried Mary to his bed. They had sex until they late in the evening. After the sex, Daniel and Mary freshened up. Mary entered her car and left. After that day, their love became stronger. They continued to visit themselves often. Every visit was an avenue to have sex. Mary decided that they should keep their relationship away from their colleagues. Nobody in their office knew about their relationship. After 6 months of dating, Daniel decided to take the bold step. He decided to officially wed Mary. He decided that the first thing to do was to take Mary to his parents. On Friday, he called his parents and told them that he has a surprise package for them. He said they should prepare for him on Sunday. That Sunday morning, he told Mary to meet him at his house. When Mary arrived, they had quick sex like they usually do before they headed to Daniel's parents' house. When they got there, Daniel's parents were surprised to see him with a lady. They didn't know anything about her relationship before that day. He hugged his parents. He told them that the surprise package he has for them is Mary. He told them he and Mary are colleagues at work. He told his parents how he was made her immediate boss on the first day she was posted to his base. He told them how he was always thinking about her but didn't dare to approach her. He told them how Tony acted as the game changer. He told them how he finally summoned the courage to approach Mary after Tony told him to do the needful. He said their relationship has lasted for 6 months and he thinks this is the right time to finally tie the knot with Mary. Daniel's parents were very happy to hear that. They told Daniel that it is their joy to see their grandchild. They urged them to do the planning as fast as possible. They also told Daniel and Mary to carry them along in the planning. Daniel's mom prepared lunch for everyone. They ate to their satisfaction before taking their leave. While they were about to take their leave, Daniel's father asked his son if he has seen Mary's parents. He said he hasn't, but they are planning to do that as soon as possible. Daniel's father said that was not good enough. He said he should see Mary's parents as soon as possible. Daniel joined Mary outside after he listened to his father. Mary was curious to know what kept Daniel back, so she asked him as soon as he joined her. Daniel said his father asked him if they have seen her parents. He said he told his father that they haven't, but they are planning to do so. Daniel said his father urged him to do so as soon as possible. While they were driving home, he told Mary to call her parents on phone. He said she should inform them of their visit. He said she should ask them when they want him to come and see them. Mary put a call through to her dad. She told him that she wants to bring someone to him. She asked him when she should come and see him. Mary's father said he and her mother will be free on Saturday. He said she can come anytime on Saturday. With that, Daniel and Mary decided that they will see Mary's parents on Saturday. Mary slept at Daniel's house that day because she was very tired. They went to work together the next day. Their colleagues were surprised to see Mary coming down from Daniel's car. They decided to make their relationship public. So, they started going to work together. When people began to see them together, they knew something was happening between the two of them. On Saturday morning, Mary and Daniel made their way to Mary's parents' house. 1 hour after they arrived there, they were welcomed by Mary's parents. They were surprised to see Daniel with Mary. They asked their daughter who Daniel is. She narrated to them how she met Daniel. She told them that Daniel is her immediate boss at work. She told her parents how Daniel has been a loving boss. She said he has moved from the level of a boss to the level of fiancé. She told them that Daniel is the person she is dating and they are planning to get married as soon as possible. Mary's father was very happy with what his daughter told him. He welcomed Daniel again. He asked him about work, his parents, and many other things. While Daniel was being queried by Mary's dad, Mary and her mom ran to the kitchen to prepare lunch. After 45 minutes, lunch was ready and they all ate together. After lunch, Mary and Daniel asked to take their leave. They were followed to the car park by Mary's parents. They kept advising them till they left. When they got home, Daniel called his father and informed him about his visit to Mary's parents' house. He told his father that he was accepted very well and they have given him the opportunity to marry their daughter. 1 week after, Daniel and Mary picked a date for their wedding. Their wedding was widely publicized by their friends and colleagues. Everybody was happy for them because of their diligence at work. The wedding day arrived and it was a scene to behold. Guests came from all spheres of life to witness the occasion. Almost every police officer in Miami was at their wedding. They got a lot of gifts from the police high command. The couples got a new car from their boss because they fulfilled certain conditions. The police force had a rule then that if police officers marry each other, they will get a brand new car as a gift. As soon as Daniel collected the car gift, he handed over his old car to one of his friends that does not have a car. After the wedding party, Daniel and Mary returned to their hotel room. The next day after the wedding, they traveled to Paris for their honeymoon. 2 weeks after, they returned to Miami because their holiday was over. The next day, they resumed back at work. Before their resumption, the Miami police have been fighting some deadly armed robbers. The armed robbers had sophisticated weapons. Therefore, the police found it difficult to overpower them. The armed robbers killed a lot of policemen during their cause of operation. As soon as Daniel and Mary resumed at the office, they were drafted to the unit that was saddled with the responsibility of arresting the deadly armed robbers. Daniel and Mary swung to work immediately. They went to the streets of Miami and interrogated people, asking them what they know about the deadly armed robbers. After 3 days of interrogation, they finally got a lead. They met a tipster who gave them the hideout of the deadly armed robbers. The tipster told them that the best time to invade the hideout was in the night when they are asleep. With the information they got from the tipster, Daniel and Mary returned to base and assembled a team of armed policemen for the operation. They left the base at exactly 11 a.m. and they got to the hideout at midnight. As soon as they got to the hideout, they forcefully opened the gate and went into the apartment. In the process of opening the gate, the armed robbers were able to detect the police and they engaged them in a heavy shootout. The shootout lasted for more than an hour with casualties from each side. After the shootout, the policemen killed 5 of the robbers and arrested the rest. While the policemen were assembling in front of their car, they noticed that Mary was missing. They went back into the building to search for her. While they were searching for her, they heard a loud noise from one of the rooms in the apartment. The policemen rushed down to the room and found Mary in a pool of blood. She sustained an injury during the shootout. She was rushed to the bus and taken to the hospital. Daniel could not sleep that night. The next morning, he was the first person to arrive at the hospital. When he got there, he was allowed to see Mary, but she could not talk to him. As days went by, Mary's health deteriorated to the extent that she was using oxygen to breathe. Her condition deteriorated to the extent that friends and family were barred from seeing her. Days went by and Mary's condition did not improve. Daniel couldn't concentrate at work. His boss noticed his lack of concentration too. One day he called Daniel into his office and handed him a letter. At first, Daniel thought he has been sacked. When he got home and opened the letter, he realized that he was given 2 weeks' break to deal with the situation at hand. The break gave Daniel more opportunity to be with Mary. He goes to the hospital very early in the morning and leaves very late in the night. Most times, it is the doctors that usually tell him to leave because they don't allow people to sleep with patients at the hospital. On Sunday morning, while Daniel was getting ready to visit Mary at the hospital, he received a painful phone call. While he was putting on his dress, he heard his phone ringing. The number looked strange to him, so he didn't want to answer the phone at first. But when the call did not stop, he decided to answer to know why the person kept calling him. As soon as he answered the call, he heard the voice of Dr. Henry, who was the special doctor that was assigned to treat his wife. Dr. Henry told Daniel that he regrets what he wants to tell him, but there was nothing he could have done to save the situation. Dr. Henry said he is afraid to tell Daniel that Mary is dead. The cell phone fell from Daniel's hand and he began to cry profusely. He cried from morning till night. He locked himself up in his room and was crying. He refused to open the door for anybody that came to see him. 3 days after Mary's death, a police delegation led by the police boss came to visit Daniel. They found his door locked, but they noticed that he was inside. They could hear his cry from where they were standing. The boss called Daniel and told him to open the door, but Daniel refused. The police had no option but to force their way inside the house to prevent Daniel from doing something harmful. When they gained entrance into the house, they met Daniel in a sorrowful state. The house was scattered. The smell of alcohol took over the house. They noticed that Daniel has been drinking since the day he heard of his wife's death. They cleaned the house and arranged everything that Daniel scattered in the house. While they were leaving, they took Daniel with them. Daniel was lodged in a hotel close to the police base. He was given 3 months to recover from his wife's death. After 3 months, Daniel resumed at his duty post. His first day of resumption was emotional. When he entered the office, everyone could not hold back their tears. The tears on everyone's face brought back Mary's memory. Daniel tried to control himself, but he did not know when tears started rolling down his cheeks. After some time, he picked himself up and returned to his duty post. As soon as he resumed, an officer was allocated to him to replace Mary. But this time, a male officer. The officer briefed him on all the cases they had at the moment. Daniel started his day-to-day activities, but he found it very hard to take Mary's thoughts off him. 1 year after, Daniel was in the office when he received an emergency call from a toll-free line. The lady said she witnessed a robbery, and she called to inform the police. Daniel and his team immediately swung into action and apprehended the robbers. They brought the robbers to their base before charging them to court. When Daniel returned to the office the next day, he went through the phone records in search of the number of the lady that called. After some minutes, he was able to get the number. He called the lady and appreciated her for a job well done. He encouraged her to continue giving security agencies relevant information that would lead to the arrest of the people who have decided to terrorize the state. Daniel told the lady that he will like to meet her to show his appreciation because the operation gave him a promotion at work. The lady was so happy to hear about Daniel's promotion. She said she didn't want to accept his invite in the first place, but the good news he told her is what changed her mind. She asked Daniel if he was calling her with his cell phone number, and Daniel replied in the affirmative. She said she will call him back and tell him where and when to meet her. Daniel appreciated the lady for accepting his wife before ending the call. His boss was already at the door to decorate him with his new rank while he was on the phone. When he noticed that Daniel has ended the call, he went into Daniel's office with some other officers to officially decorate Daniel with his new rank. While Daniel was driving home, his phone started ringing. He didn't answer the call because the number looked strange and he didn't want to break the law. The call kept coming in, but Daniel did not answer the call. When Daniel got home, he called the number to know who was calling him. When he called the number, Precious answered the call. Daniel said he doesn't know anybody called Precious. She had to explain herself before Daniel recognized. When Daniel eventually knew that it was the lady that made the emergency call, he pleaded with her. He told her that he did not pick the call because the number looked strange and he was driving home at that time. Precious said she called to inform him of where they will meet. She said Daniel should come to the Fun Garden on Sunday by 1 p.m. if he wants to see her. Daniel obliged. He told Precious that he will be there on Sunday by 1 p.m. Precious said goodbye to Daniel on the phone. She told him to take very good care of himself before ending the call. As soon as Precious ended the call, Daniel went to his bed and slept off. On Sunday morning, Daniel woke up early as he usually does. His first point of call was his gym center. After spending 1 hour in the gym, he returned to his room to rest. After resting for 30 minutes, he went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. After taking breakfast, he returned to the couch to take some rest because he still had time. He set his alarm to 11 a.m. so that he does not sleep off. At exactly 11 a.m., his alarm started ringing. The alarm was so loud that he had to wake up even though he was fast asleep. When he woke up, he went to the bathroom to take his bath. He took his bath, dressed up, and sat back on his couch waiting for 12:30 before he hits the road. At exactly 12:30, he made his way to the Fun Garden. He called Precious and told her he was already on his way. Precious told him that she has been there waiting for him. Upon hearing that, Daniel started speeding because he doesn't want Precious to get angry even though the time she gave him was not up. At exactly 12:50 a.m., Daniel arrived at the fun garden. He called Precious to come and pick him at the gate. Precious came to the gate to pick him. When they entered the fun garden, they looked for a nice place to sit. Precious started by congratulating Daniel on his promotion at work. After congratulating him, she said she was curious to know why he wanted to see her. Daniel started by telling Precious about Mary. He told her how he met Mary, how they got married, and she died a few days after sustaining gunshot wounds in an operation. He told Precious that he has not been himself since the incident. Precious felt sorry for Daniel. She said she feels what he has been going through, but she wants him to remain strong and resolute. Daniel told Precious that the reason he invited her was that he was looking for someone he can confide in. He said since Mary died, he doesn't have a female friend that he shares his problems with. He told Precious that he wants her to be his friend and if possible his lover. Precious looked at Daniel in the eyes. She didn't know what to say. She felt Daniel's pain. Precious took Daniel's car key and told Daniel to follow her to her house. 10 minutes after, they arrived at Precious's house. They went in and sat down on the couch. Precious knew Daniel was sex-starved, so she wanted to give him sex. As soon as they sat on the couch, her hand started going through Daniel's body. Before you know it, Daniel's clothes were already off. Precious took off her clothes too and walked Daniel to her bedroom. They continued to have sex until late in the evening before Daniel took his leave. After that day, Precious and Daniel became lovers. They did everything together. Daniel was able to find comfort after Mary's death. Hey, guys, please let me know if this is right or your thoughts on this.
I am Lisi, and I am only 16-year-old. Months ago, something had happened to my family and me, so I decided to tell my story. Get ready to get goosebumps. I was born and raised in Jylland. We are one small family, but a happy one. I live with my parents, and I am the only child. My grandparents had passed away very early when I was a baby. But my mom says that I used to love them so much. I often think about them and how life would be if they were still alive. Even though I am big now, my mom still treats me like a baby. But I can't complain, though. I am a mama's boy. When I am home, most of the time I spend with my mother. My mom doesn't work, so she is always home. On the other hand, my father works in Switzerland and he is never home. But it doesn't go an hour that my mom and dad don't text each other. I try as much to stay home with her because I don't want her to feel alone. But it's hard, especially when you are a 16-year-old and your friends are going out and being rebellious. But my parents have sacrificed a lot for me. Staying home with my mother is the least that I can do. When my father isn't home, I feel like I become the father of the house. I think that I must be brave and I must do the most to make my mother feel safe. 5 years ago, we were in a very terrible economic situation. I was a kid, but I remember so much. I remember how stressed my parents were. My father worked different jobs, but he was not getting paid enough. My mother couldn't work because she had to stay home and look after me. We never had vacations, and we never went somewhere fancy. There were times when we could barely find food to eat. I was the only kid at school who would pack lunch and all the others were going out and eating. There were times that I felt left out. I like to remember the past because I see how much our lives have changed now. A lot has changed in 5 years. Since there weren't many good jobs, my father decided to leave our country and go to Switzerland. The fact that he would be far from us broke his heart. But it was the only solution. I remember how scared my mother was and how she would lock all the doors of our houses all the time. But our city, Jylland, is very safe. We were always safe here. My dad comes to visit us every 3 months. My mom is the happiest when dad is here. We are all happier now. Life is good. We have a roof upon our heads, good food, and warm clothes. These are the most important things, says my mom. But, on the other hand, my dad is different. He is always looking for more. He never settles down. Now that we are in an ideal economic situation, he thinks we should enjoy it and not feel guilty. I am not the type of person who wants expensive stuff, but my dad is. One day, as we talked on FaceTime, he said that he had a surprise for us. Guess what? He had bought a Tesla, a white brand new Tesla. This car was very trendy and everybody seemed to love it. I have heard about it and there were times when we would talk with my friends about it. I couldn't believe that my dad had bought it. It is a car that can drive itself. It's insane how far technology has gone. After some weeks, my dad had come and it was time for me to see the new Tesla. I was speechless. You should be 18-year-old to get your driver's license in my country. I don't have one yet. But my dad still let me drive it. It felt so good driving the Tesla. My heart was racing and my legs were shaking. We even tried the option to let the car drive itself. My mother was scared of it. But I loved it. Every time that my dad comes back, we go on vacation. This way we can spend more time together. Plus, it was summer and I was out of school. This time we decided to go to Elsinge, Montenegro. We had never been there, but people always seemed to love and have a good time there. We didn't care that we didn't know the road, Tesla got our back. It was a very hot day, so we couldn't wait and arrived there and have a cold swim. We didn't waste time. We took some clothes, some food for the road and decided to start the journey. It was a long road ahead of us. There were times when our dad would put the Tesla on its self-driving mode. His hands would be out of the wheel, but we would still feel safe. We started our journey very late afternoon and it was beginning to get dark outside. I slept some hours and when I woke up, it was pitch dark. My mom was asleep too. We were driving and driving. There were no lights, no cars, no humans. We could barely see. There were a lot of mountains and the road was getting bumpy. At first, we thought we were going on the wrong way, but the GPS told us that that was the right road for our wanted destination. We were looking for a gas station to stop and rest a little, but we couldn't see any. It was summer, but the road was foggy. That was where we started getting worried. At that moment, we were just hoping that the sun would rise, and this way, we would feel safer. We couldn't find any gas station, so we decided to stop the car and just have a little bit of fresh air. We parked the car on the side of the road. My parents were smoking a cigarette and we were just having a conversation. It was so dark. The moon was the only light. The silence was loud. Suddenly, a wild deer comes running so fast towards me. He pushed me to the ground. I was so scared because the deer was so big and it caught me off guard. We couldn't stay outside anymore because we thought they might be other wild animals, which could be dangerous. We got in the car and decided to continue our journey. After some hours, my dad noticed that there weren't any street signs anymore. It had been hours since we had seen a car or a human. We didn't have an internet connection. But, since we had never been there, we thought that this would be the right road. We decided to trust the car, even though the road became harder and harder. We couldn't sleep anymore. We would just stare at the road and see where it would take us. My dad thought that it would be better if we would stop the car and ask for help. But the car wasn't stopping at all. We tried and tried, but the car just drove. We couldn't understand what was happening. We were so stressed. We were trapped inside of our car and we couldn't get out. The car took us inside some big mountains, then it stopped. It was even darker. There was nothing around us. We were left with so little food and we all needed to go to the bathroom, but the door was still locked. We fell asleep that way and then we woke up to the noise of the car starting up. My dad wasn't even touching the wheel anymore at this point. We were in the early minutes of sunrise and now we could see where we were. We were in a big field with nothing around us. The car started driving and driving. Then, it took us to a very strange place. There was a big, scary, abandoned building. The car got parked near there. Then, the doors of the car got opened. It was like the car was communicating with us, telling us to go outside of the car. At this point, we didn't care where we were. We just wanted to get out of the car and be safe. We got out, and I had never felt freer than at that moment. It was early morning. It was silent, and the only thing we could hear was the birds singing. We needed this fresh air. But, there was nothing around us except that building. The car closed its doors, and now we were left outside. We didn't know if we would ever get back in our car or if we could ever return home. We thought it would be better if we walked around and asked for help. Maybe someone could be there. We walked around the building, but nothing was there. The building was old and musty. It had a massive door, and we couldn't see what was inside of it. We decided to open the door and find out. We walked in, and we noticed that it was someone's home. But maybe that someone had lived there over 50 years before. The furniture was untouched and full of dust. There was an old, fat television and an old piano. There were still some dirty dishes in the kitchen. The building had 3 floors. And we decided to go and see what was in there. There was a big room with over 20 beds. We thought that this might have been an orphanage. We wanted to see the 3rd floor too, but the stairs were so old and musty we were afraid that we would fall. We decided to go out and see if the doors of the cars got opened. We arrived at the living room and tried to open the door. We couldn't open the door. We were so scared and we didn't know what was going on. We felt like we were on the set of a horror film. As we were trying to figure out how to open the door, we heard the sound of the piano. It was playing itself. That was the moment we realized that this had to be with something abnormal, something out of this world. I don't believe in ghosts, either my parents, but what's the explanation for all the things happening to us? The piano play lasted for 3 good minutes. My body was shaking, not knowing what was going to happen next. Then the piano stopped and we just stayed here in complete silence. Suddenly, we heard some steps, like someone was coming to the living room. But no one was coming downstairs. We were stuck there for an hour, listening and looking around. Then we heard steps like some people were coming downstairs running to the living room. There were no people, no ghosts, just some dust flying around. That's when the door got opened and the dust went outside of the door. We were shocked because it looked like some spirit had just gone outside of the house. My mother was crying. We didn't know if we would be safer inside the house or outside. At that moment, we heard someone honking a car. And we thought that somebody had come to recuse us. But no. Our Tesla was honking at us like calling us to get in the car. We went outside and the car opened the doors. We got in and the car wasn't starting itself like it used to. My dad tried to start it and it did. It looked like we were in charge of the car now. We drove some miles and the GPA was back and we noticed that we were nowhere near our destination. We were back on the streets and we saw cars and people and millions of gas station stops. We didn't know if we should ask for help. What would we say to everyone? We decided to drive home because this whole road trip got too weird. I haven't told anyone this story until now. We still don't know if we will keep the Tesla. My dad's theory of all this happening was that somehow there were old spirits on that abandoned building that needed to be free. We were the chosen ones to do that. Why us, though?
Hi, I'm Mira. My boyfriend, Lopez, and I are the perfect match for each other. We have our ups and downs, but beyond that, we are good for each other. We love mysteries and games, and that was why we decided to stay at the Albertsons, Lopez's parents' beach house in Miami, before it is placed for sale. What we didn't realize was that we have to grow up. At the beach house, we had so much fun as usual. It was going as we had planned until we found this old safe. All we could see were pictures and nothing else. But these pictures isn't what we were expecting in the old crooked safe. We wanted more. But all we could lay our hands on were these old pictures. Do they worth the effort? You're about to find out. I, Bruno, my baby brother, and my papa live in the countryside. My mum died during Bruno's labor. It has then been my duty to take care of him. I was his mother figure. My father hadn't considered remarrying since then. I think he had considered it, but he might be scared of how I would react. But deeply, I don't care. My father works with a security agency at a multinational company not far away from home. Due to the nature of his job, he stays at work at night. So, when I was young, I spent most of the time with the Albertsons, our neighbors. Initially, Lopez and I were not on talking terms. I did visit the Albertsons residence to play with Rodrigo, my only friend. People might think we might end up dating, but we are too close to be dating. Rodrigo is my very good friend. We planned everything together. We never made any decision behind each other. As kids, we had our own rules and codes which were still effective until recently. We needed to grow up. Rodrigo was a smart kid and his vision was to become a scientist. He got us into a lot of trouble with his little science projects. Lopez was quite older than us. He never participated in our games and it looked like he and his little brother aren't close. Not a bit. They did fight over every little thing. Lopez was 2 years our senior, and he only talked with people of his caliber. I looked older than his age and he is a lot mature, but he easily gets himself into conflict. I didn't like him at all and Rodrigo did tell me a lot about him. I knew I sickened him and he disgusted me too. Lopez wasn't as smart as his little brother, which made him get some harsh responses from his parents. But he is good at playing football. The coach once told the school that he had a great future ahead of him if he keep up the pace. We always anticipate a holiday. The Albertsons and I spend the holiday at their beach house in Miami. My father would take Bruno to Aunt Nina's to spend the break. At the beach house, we had more space for our little experiment and it was convenient to blow things up. Lopez did go to the beach to party. He was never at home. Mr. and Mrs. Albertson tried varieties of things. They tried yoga and some weird religious practices. Lopez and I wondered how they enjoyed those things. The only thing they did that we are fans of is the different types of cocktails they made. As kids, we would take some sips whenever the duo wasn't looking. Mrs. Albertson was a very good cook. She loves to bake as well. She made her recipes. I did assist her in the kitchen. During those times, we did have a heart-to-heart discussion. The beach house was our haven. Lopez and I started tying knots when Rodrigo and I were in grade 10 and Lopez was in his finals. I was at their place that afternoon to see Rodrigo. I went to Rodrigo's room but he wasn't there. I looked around the house but could not find Rodrigo. I then decided to go check for him in the backyard. As I opened the door to the backyard, I was Lopez swimming in the swimming pool. He was flabbergasted to see me. I didn't notice a thing until I saw him covering his rear with his 2 hands. He asked me to turn around, and I obeyed immediately. "What are you looking for?" he asked with a shaky voice. "I am here looking for Rodrigo. I didn't know you would be here," I responded. "As you can see, Rodrigo isn't home," he rejoined. I was about to leave the backyard when he called on me. "Please help me with my underpants that is on the line," he requested of me. I got the underpants, trying my possible best to look back. I threw the underpants, but my aim was poor. It fell in the water. Lopez had to swim to get it. The underpants were wet, but he didn't have any other choice but to wear them like that. I was still standing with my back turned towards the Lopez and my right hands on my face. He came out of the pool and tapped me. I was startled and looked at him. He is a tall and well-built young man. "Thank you," he said, pointing to the wet underpants. "I am sorry," I responded. He left me behind and found his way to the main building. That wasn't surprising. He does that a lot. Since Lopez wasn't home, I left the Albertsons' residence. I texted Rodrigo, who didn't reply to my message. I should be worried because that would be the first time he would ever go out without telling me first, but the scene with Lopez was on my mind. I couldn't get it off my mind. Rodrigo called me later and apologized. I wasn't interested in his plea. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lopez. I couldn't believe that I was smiling. Am I in love with Lopez? No, this can't be happening. Even if I showed my advances, Lopez would not even look at my side. And if he does, Rodrigo might not talk to me again for having intimate affairs with his brother. And I can't afford to lose Rodrigo. I had spent my whole life with Rodrigo. Getting separated from him would hurt both of us. I don't want to be the cause of our parting. I tried to get Lopez off my mind by spending the night talking about life with Papa. I slept off after a few hours discussing life in Mexico. From that moment henceforth, I tried showing my intentions to Lopez. He wasn't even looking at my side. Rodrigo may have noticed because he had been acting kind of funny, but he didn't say anything. After several trials, he took up the courage to ask him out physically. He just looked at me and walked away, leaving me standing. It was as if I was not there. From that day on, he would just smile whenever he set his eyes on me. Was he impressed, or he was making fun of me? Lopez and his classmates were preparing for their prom, and my class was also trying to create an event for the end of the year. I and Rodrigo were also busy trying to pull stuff. All our effort were futile since all Rodrigo could pull was not social enough. Eventually, my class settled for a kissing booth. Lopez was nowhere to be found. I think he wanted to look best for his prom. The day of the prom had come. I persuaded Rodrigo to attend so that I could see the graduating boy. Rodrigo was reluctant at first but obeyed our rule number 5. Do not let down your bestie's request. At the hall, Lopez's classmate came in twos, male and female except for Lopez. He was the only single guy at the party. I felt sorry for him, but my hands are tied. For the first time in a long time, he recognized us. He kept waving his hands at us at every opportunity. He took some photos with us. That night, Lopez and Rodrigo had their first brother thing. They had several shots, joked, and played some manly games. Eventually, the two of them got drunk. I had to help the two brothers home. It wasn't easy. I got a taxi and got them home safe. At their place, I assisted Rodrigo to his room first. The boy slept off immediately. I came down to help Lopez to his room. Lopez was so drunk that he was just speaking gibberish. He laughed more often. We eventually made it to his bed. I dropped him. As I was about to take my leave, he held my hand and murmured some words which I didn't understand. I successfully left his room. I called Papa, telling him I won't be coming home that night. He was fine with it. I made myself comfortable on the sofa. I didn't know when I slept off. The next morning, Lopez was the one to wake me up. "Thank you for yesterday," he said as he grinned. Before I could say "you're welcome," he left for the swimming pool in their backyard. Rodrigo followed him. He was still hanging over the previous night's drunkenness. He sat beside me on the sofa, crossed his hand around my neck. "I love you," he said. "You will forever be my best friend." Oh, what a relief. I can't imagine dating Rodrigo. After skipping through various TV channels, he eventually decided to join his brother at the swimming pool. Mrs. Albertson came downstairs, greeted me, and headed straight to the kitchen. I followed her immediately. We chatted a little as we cooked for the boys. Most of the discussion that day was about boys. I didn't feel comfortable, but I enjoyed it. Mrs. Albertson had been the closest thing I had to a mother since my mum died from Bruno's labor. She is always there for me. After the cooking, I summoned the courage to join the boys at the poolside. To my surprise, the two boys were having fun. Wow, that was amazing. I stood at the poolside, trying to join in the ongoing moment, unknowing to me. Rodrigo pulled me into the pool. My dress got wet, but I love it too. It was a day I would never forget. After the whole fun, Mrs. Albertson served us our meal. Everyone ate and Lopez joined in our stupid games. He was not good at following rules. He cheated his ways to victory every time, but we didn't care. It was fun for us. Bruno came looking for me, but instead of telling Papa had called upon me, he made himself at home and started playing video games. The day was fun. Bruno and I got home later that evening. Papa wasn't home, but he left a letter behind. He had gone for his security duties. I cooked before leaving. We served ourselves, had a little of siblings jiffy before going to bed. On my bed, I was exultant. I took my phone and started chatting with Rodrigo. We chat for quite a time before saying our goodbyes. I slept off instantly. I was very tired from the day's activities. After an incredible weekend, it was time to prepare for the kissing booth. My class pulls this off. Rodrigo got a kiss from her dream girl, Lara. It seemed she also had a crush on the guy. I was quite jealous. All my classmates had been paired with their secret lovers. It was my time to receive the surprise kiss. I was blindfolded and I was meant to wait. I waited longer than usual. I was about to lose hope when someone drew my head closer to give me a passionate kiss. This is surely Rodrigo, I said to myself. I was so thankful then. I remembered Rodrigo had never kissed before. He can't be this good, and more so this fellow was quite sporty. Unlike my Rodrigo. I took of the fold and lo, it was Lopez. Everyone was cheering us up. I caught the big fish. A graduating student gave me a surprise kiss. After the passionate kiss, Lopez then asked me, "Will you be my girlfriend?" I wanted to say yes, but when I looked at the audience, Rodrigo is gone. And Lara shrugged, realizing I was looking for Rodrigo. I couldn't say yes, even though I wanted to. I left at once looking for Rodrigo. I eventually found Rodrigo alone at the cafeteria. I guessed he wasn't too happy with the show. I can't blame you. I would have done the same thing if I was to be in his shoes. I sat beside him. We didn't speak for a while. Then I said, "Rule number 13, be happy for each other no matter the situation." He looked at me in dismay and there was silence once more. Finally, he spoke. "This isn't right," he said. "You can't be in an affair with my brother. It is going to affect our friendship. It is going to be weird seeing for kiss my brother while we sit side by side. I thought he was your big brother too." He kept talking. I thought he wasn't going to stop and I would just stay muted and listen to him all night. Then I heard, "Don't you have anything to say?" Oh, finally, it is my time to say something, but there is nothing for me to say. I summoned some courage and told him that I guess Lopez likes me. "Do you like him?" he revolted. I think I responded slimily. "Since when has this been going on?" he asked once more. "Tonight," I answered. He looked at my face and said, "I am happy for you, but you should have told me earlier. Let's go celebrate." Lippy. I almost jumped off my feet. But I kept cool. On our way back to where the event was taking place, we met Lara, who was looking around for her newly found boyfriend. Lara was the shy one and she barely talked. But I guessed, the two are united by science. Those are the best two in the class. Funny enough, they don't compete. Rodrigo introduced Lara to me as if we had never met before. "Lara, this is Mira, my best friend, and Mira. This is Lara, my girlfriend." Lara looked at him in awe while I laughed. I couldn't believe what I just heard. Lara rested on him and he crossed his hand around her neck. While that was going on, Lopez showed. He smiled at his little brother, who could not pretend he is disappointed. Then he came for me. He took me by the hand and said, "Hi guys, who cares for some drink?" "Don't get me drunk like the last time," exclaimed Rodrigo. Things were going on fine between us until it was time for Lopez to go to college. There was this unhappiness within me. Rodrigo didn't care. He spent most of his time with Lara now. I am happy for them. But it was my time to be lonely. Lopez promised me he would call every day. I pretended to be fine with the suggestion, but I would miss my newly found soulmate. As promised, Lopez keeps the tab every day. It has now become a routine. We always talked about how we spent our days. He talked about his newly found friends. Lopez's new clique is made up of 3 other boys and a girl. I requested for their picture, which he sent without asking him twice. There I saw Happy. You can't believe it. If Happy had competed for Ms. World, she would have won. She's the most beautiful creature I had set my eyes on in the last 17 years of my life. I wouldn't have suspected anything if the lady was sitting a yard away from my Lopez. But instead, she was sitting right next to him with her hands all over Lopez. I started getting suspicious of Lopez. Who would want to start honestly with a high school guy when you have a beautiful college girl within your reach? No one, and this time, not even Lopez would. I asked him who she was. He said they're just friends. I wanted to believe him, but I didn't believe him. Who would have believed such things? I called him a liar and stopped talking to him. I called and texted, but I didn't respond. Time had passed. Rodrigo and Lara are doing very fine. Lopez and I had not talked for a while now. We are now in our finals. It was time for our prom. Being single felt weird. Lopez and Lara had gotten admission into the same college. I was still keeping my admission on hold. I wanted to be a lawyer, not a science guru like those two. And our rule number 4 is to attend the same college. I wanted to go to the same college as Rodrigo, who had been adamant about it, but I have a career to pursue myself. I had to lie to him that I had chosen the same college as his. He was very happy that he hugged me. I told him not to tell anyone yet since I want to surprise others. It didn't make sense to him, but he obliged. The other college is the same as Lopez. I think a little part of me was still with him. Prom was fast approaching. I had a dance competition to perform in. I had been paired with Wilson. Wilson was really good. I would have loved to partner with Rodrigo, but he had been his usual self since he met Lara. We still talked, but not as we used to. So, I had to settle for Wilson. Wilson seemed cool, and there was nothing between us. Little did I know that this guy really liked me, or he might just be infatuated. At the dance competition, we were the last to be called upon. Towards the end of our performance, the audience had started applauding us. After the last move, Wilson kissed me. I played along because I didn't want to embarrass him on stage. While I was deep in the kiss, I saw a figure standing up from the stands and left. I recognized that person. That was Lopez for sure. I rushed up the presentation and ran after him. I looked everywhere but could not find him. Then hello. A female voice from behind said. I looked back. It was Happy. So, Lopez came from my presentation with her little girlfriend. I looked at her as if she fell in a pit filled with swine shit. To my surprise, she didn't react at all. She smiled at me and stretched his hand for a handshake. We shook hands and she requested of me if we could talk. Yes, I said reluctantly. I wasn't comfortable with the discussion because she was speaking to me as if she was my elder sister. Then she asked the big question. Have you moved on? I looked at her face. We are here today because Lopez wanted me to see her little girlfriend that stopped talking to him because of me. Lopez had said a lot about you and I wanted to see it for myself. I was disappointed in myself. I hadn't moved on, I replied. The guy, Wilson, we aren't dating. It was part of the performance. To kiss, she exclaimed. Wilson added, we didn't practice that. I replied. Where is Lopez? I asked her in quite a hurry. I don't know, she replied. I don't know anywhere here. Do you mind taking me around? We stood up and took a walk. Even though we came first, I missed the award presentation. I didn't care anymore. I wanted to reconcile with Lopez as soon as possible. We ended up at a bar. She demanded we take a few shots. I couldn't decline. We started with dry gin till we get to vodka. This girl is good. If addiction is a polite word, I would have used it, but it isn't. We competed and I lost on every count. We built a close relationship within hours. While we are having a splendid time, Rodrigo, Lara, and Lopez came by. Lara and Rodrigo came close while Lopez stayed in a distance. I guessed he was still angry after the show I made. I walked towards him, gave him a peck and whispered in his ears, there is nothing between me and that guy. He said, if I see that guy, I promised, I am going to punch him in the face. I love you, I replied instead. He grinned as I dragged him towards the others. We had a night of our lives. Happy left the next morning. Guessed Lopez would be staying home for Christmas. We were enjoying the break. I and Lopez finally had our intimate moment. The young man is good. I stayed in his place for a week straight. This Christmas, Bruno will be staying at home. He is now 10. He told Papa that he is old enough. He wanted to go camping with his best friend, a girl. Papa was fine with it. I got suspicious, but did not need my advice on this one. I got home after a week. I missed my little brother. I wanted to see how he was doing. The little guy didn't need me around anymore. He was doing the cooking, washing, and setting the house all by himself. I asked him how he pulled this off, all by himself. He told me that when I was not at home, Papa had been seeing a nice lady. She helped a lot at home and she taught me some things. Papa was going to ask you if he should propose to her, he continued. There was this mixed feeling within me. I was happy for him, but introducing a new person to the family feels weird. Bruno was fine with this. I would soon be going to college. Someone has to take care of Bruno while I am away. I sighed. The house looked different. I couldn't find things where I had known them to be. My time in this house is almost over, I guessed. I got to the cabinet to get myself something to eat. I was about to sit down and grab the remote when Papa showed up. He settled down a while from the night's job before initiating a discussion on the new lady. Her name is Doris, he mentioned. She is a nice lady, he continued. I wasn't comfortable discussing my father's wife to be with him. He did all the talking. He told him he would be going on a date with her, where he would propose to her. Can I go ahead? He asked. Yes, of course, if you like her. Moreover, Bruno does, I replied. I eventually found a good reason to flee. The next morning I came back home. No one was home except for Doris. I was shocked, so she had started sleeping over. She introduced herself and we exchanged regards. She was quite nice as aforementioned by Bruno. Although there was this weird silence in the house, we tried to converse a little. While we were both enjoying the TV program, Papa showed up in a new coat. He said he and Doris are going on a date. As he was about to leave, he asked me to wish them luck. Good luck and have fun, I responded. Doris waved and grinned at me as the duo left for their date. I was about to rest when I received Rodrigo's message. It reads, "We are off to the beach house. Are you in?" This was the perfect excuse I needed to provide privacy from my dad and his new butterfly. I quickly got some stuff packed in a small box, dropped a note for Bruno to say goodbye, and left the house. The Albertsons wanted to put the beach house on sale since they would be retiring soon and all their kids will be going to college. No one would be visiting the beach house anymore. Lopez suggested we had a meeting with them. At the meeting, the two made known their plans. Rodrigo and Lopez were able to convince them. They said their parents should permit us to stay for a while. During the stay at the place, we would take care of the place and make it perfect for sale to attract wealthy buyers. Mr. and Mrs. Albertson agreed to it. We enjoyed our stay at the beach house. Rodrigo and I unraveled all we had done when we were kids while Lopez and I made love at night. Lara also came to visit. We all joined the big party at the beach. Wilson also came around. This is weird. Lopez suspected I was the one who invited him. I told him I was not the one. Things got on the tension between Lopez and Wilson. I had to beg Wilson to leave, even though it was against his will. He left. Again there was peace. After a while, we were tired of fun as we prepared for college and make the house ready for sale. Lara had left for his parents' place. Papa does call sometimes. He is doing fine with Doris and Bruno was enjoying himself. While we were arranging the house, we saw an old safe. Lopez carried it out. It was made of metal and it had a lock. Rodrigo and Lopez tried calling their parents as regards the sacred old safe. They didn't say. They concluded that it might be there before the Albertsons bought the beach house. This news spurs the two brothers to make a heist, their first to be precise. They tried cutting off the lock but to no avail. Rodrigo was tired of the stress, while Lopez was angry about him unable to open the safe. They later found out that what was in will remain in, if they tried any more stupid things. After thorough attempts, they decided to get a lock specialist. On the day of the heist, the lock specialist came. He didn't look like someone that could pull such a thing. He was just a nerd. She even came along with a Scotch bag, At first we thought he had his tools in the bag, but later we found out the bag was empty. He just loves carrying that bag. He started tending to the safe. The guy is good. He opened the safe just within 5 minutes. We expected to see some antiques, cash or precious stones. The lock guy opened the safe and hissed. He adjusted his glasses and went to Lopez to collect his cash. He left immediately. I guessed he was disappointed. Lopez and Rodrigo rushed to the safe to open it. "What is this?" shouted Lopez. "Our childhood photos. Is this a joke?" Rodrigo went forward and started checking through the pictures. He was enjoying himself. I moved forward and joined him. We both enjoyed the pictures. We made jest over it. It was fun for us, but it wasn't for Lopez. He was angry because he just wasted some cash on an old safe filled with memories. We are happy after this event. We placed the house on sale, and we had concluded to move on. Rodrigo and Lara moved forward with their school, while I followed Lopez to his college. It was a happy ending for everyone, and we realized we needed to move on. I reunited with Happy, and Lopez introduced me to the rest of the crew. Lopez had learned to control his anger issue. Today, we still joke about the old safe. The mystery is that, who kept our childhood photos in a safe and locked them? That we don't know. All we knew was that we had beautiful childhood that we can't return to anymore. So sad, but we have to grow up. We have to grow up.